oh my God, I do not like this person. I don't like this person. I don't like him. Man, why? I mean, I just don't like that guy. But then when the person walks up, how you doing? How you doing? What do? You shake hands. Good to see you. Now, you know you don't mean that because you don't like that person. But yet you still sit there and say, good to see you, or you say, how are you doing? How was your weekend, or whatever it may be, even though what you're thinking is, please God, let the space shuttle land on this person's leg. Okay. Again, just because somebody doesn't say something doesn't mean they're not thinking it. So that's how I would sit there and kind of piggyback off of what Cody said. So I appreciate you sharing that, Cody, because I 100% agree with you. You know, to lose money for something doesn't make sense. What's going on, Mark? Did you finally get on now?
I agree 100% with this. And actually, I've got a story from here in Dallas. I was pitching a guy halfway through my pitch. He just starts waving his hands. He's like, you know what? Just stop. And I was like, oh crap, what did I do? He said, where's the paperwork? Let's just get this thing done. And I said, I haven't even like shown you all the warranty stuff and everything yet. And I think it's important to at least know what you're getting. And he said, no, you know what? Listen, the last two companies that came out, they were scraggly. They stunk. One of the guys was wearing shorts and flip-flops. Their presentation was all over the place. He said, just because of how you've presented yourself so far, I'm good. Let's get it done. And it was literally just that fast that it just like a switch had flipped. And he was clearly judging me the whole time, but that was his kind of owning up to what was going on with him in his own mind from previous experience. So that's why the last two window companies didn't get it.
Again, 100% agree. So that's why I brought that up. So again, Cody, for circling back, thank you very much. Any other questions out there? Thoughts, concerns, anything that we looked at?
So one of the things that I've been having a hard time with kind of wrapping my brain around is in the special trip, the line where we are saying, where did Terry go? Where we're saying, by allowing me to get paid. I've been having a really hard time getting through actually saying that just in that word track period.
You know what? That's a good one. I'm actually surprised that didn't pop up earlier, because typically every time I have trained that in every single class, that actually usually comes up the first day normally. So it only took 3 days for it to come up. So I'm very surprised it came up. So thanks, Diana. That is a good question. So let's look at this a couple different ways. First off, okay, we are commissioned salespeople. That is who we are. Okay, unless you run into the unicorn that Mark just ran into, for the most part, we don't sell anything unless we pitch it. So to tell somebody, at least let me get paid. If you want to change that word track up a little bit and you want to say, you know what, at the very least, folks, allow me the opportunity to get paid by showing you the window, measuring the window, and give you a price that's good for a year, you can say that. I don't think it's as powerful as saying it the other way. The challenge with that is when you say, give me the opportunity to get paid. You have just put yourself as a salesman right there on the spot. And that may or may not cause some different kind of challenges for some of us who may have a more difficult time of handling the customer. Okay. But in the end, if we do not pitch, we do not get paid, period. We don't get paid. At the same time, too, now I'm going to kind of pick on some of the current senior partners that are here and have been senior partners for a minute. This is going to kind of go towards you guys as opposed to maybe somebody that hasn't done this yet. Let's look at this for a second, okay? And again, I'm not beating anybody up here, but this is going to be a pretty good stab, all right? A lot of times we don't want to sit there and say, in order for me to get paid, right? Because that's a quote unquote, that's a lie. Well, let's talk about lying for a minute. Let's talk about that, okay? Number one, junior or senior partners here at Apex Energy Solutions, along with junior partners. I want to start with the junior partners for a minute. We don't have a problem telling somebody at a door that we're going to sit there and cover the complete installation. We're going to cover all labor, and we're going to give you a discount on insignia. That's a bold-faced lie, something fierce, because we are not covering labor at all. To cover labor would assume that nobody is getting paid to put the windows in, and we're going to put the windows in for free. And we are paying everybody that puts the windows in. So we don't have a problem with that kind of a lie. 58%, 58.5% off is not what happens 50% of the time we go out there. That's a lie. As a sales rep, we're walking into people's houses right now, literally showing a warranty from Pella that says they have a 22 and 10-year warranty, which is a load of bullcrap. Because if you read the warranty, it says on the warranty lifetime, for crying out loud. And then it says it drops down to a 22 and 10-year warranty on transferring. That's a bull-faced lie. Our vent latches. Our vent latches, we don't call vent latches here, we call them security latches, and they take 8 to 1,100 pounds per square inch to break. What a load of bullshit that is, something fierce. That's bullshit. Okay, that is bullshit. The other thing that we love to sit there and tell everybody when it comes to this is that our weather stripping has Kevlar in it. Really? Kevlar? Are you serious? Kevlar. How does having Kevlar in your weather stripping help? Not one iota does it help. So why would we spend the kind of money it costs to put Kevlar in anything, especially in the weather stripping that is actually lifetime warranted, that we're going to go ahead and replace when it goes bad anyway? Why would we spend that kind of money to do that? Well, we wouldn't, and that's why there's no freaking Kevlar in it. Okay. So some of the lies that we sit there and tell now, and the question I would ask, and this is not geared at you, Diana, okay, at all. The question on the table is, if we're going to sit on our laurels here a little bit and say, well, that's a lie, then what we just need to decide is what lies we're good to tell and what lies are lies that we don't want to tell. Okay. Is just figure out which lies we want to tell. All right. Most of you on this telephone call, especially in Portland, from the very first day I walked into that office, and when I was first starting with back in April, on the 24th of April, I immediately said, look, this is a bull-faced lie when it comes to the warranty. Well, how do you know? Well, let me think here, because I only worked for Pella. That's why. I only worked for them. I know what the damn warranty is. I worked for them, not for an hour or for a day, but I sold their product for 4.5 years. We cannot sit there and tell me what that warranty reads, because I could recite it with my eyes closed. Okay. I know windows. Regardless of what anybody may think of me, I know windows. There is no Kevlar in any weather stripping on the market because of its cost. And there certainly isn't going to be Mylar. And the bullshit we tell about Mylar is, well, we use Mylar to keep the weather stripping fluffy. So Mylar has fingers, is what you're trying to tell me. It fluffs it up. Mylar isn't going to work any different than plastic is. See, we have Mylar, folks, and we use it to keep it fluffy because there's tiny little fingers on there to keep it up. We might as well sit there and say that. We might as well. Okay. We might as well say that. All right. The damn thing is not freaking Mylar. It costs too much. Again, why would you put that type of investment in a product that's a high wear piece, number one, and number two, that's warranted to begin with anyway? So why would you do it? Absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. Okay. The bottom line is the weather stripping we used to use is double nylon pile weather stripping that is sit there and is sewed in to a, oh shit. Now I can't even think of the word. I lost my track. But basically what it is, it's in plastic. That's all that it is. But it's nylon pile is what it is. The plastic is a moisture barrier put in between it in order to try to keep some of the condensation or moisture coming in. That's all. That's all that it is. It's not magic. It's not sit there and made out of Kevlar. Nobody's shooting any bullets at it. The damn windows are not bulletproof. They don't close where they seal like a window on a submarine or some bullshit like that, that all window companies out there, including Apex, likes to sit there and try to tell people. It's not. Okay. So I guess in the roundabout way of saying that, Miss Diana, and again, this is not a shot at you at all. You asked a question I expected somebody to ask 2 days ago. Okay. If you are uncomfortable with sitting there saying, in order to go ahead and get paid by showing you the window measurement, we're going to give you prices good for a year, then don't say it that way. Change it up a smidge. You know, bottom line is they set an appointment with us. Okay. They set an appointment. They made a commitment. Most places, a doctor or someplace like that, you don't cancel on time. They charge you for that cancellation. Okay. Most of us in here have sold windows before. How big of a piss off is it when a customer cancels out of rescission, and as a company, we allow that customer to cancel out of rescission, and then we lose our commission on it. And then Mr. or Mrs. Senior Partner is sitting there saying, well, that's bullshit. The law says they got 3 days. Why are we letting them off? They signed a contract. They have to be responsible for their signature. So at what time does somebody have to be responsible for the things that they say? They set an appointment. And we got up that day. We got dressed. We got gussied up. We put gas in our car, or we put electricity in it, whichever one. Okay. We drove all the way out there. We knocked on a door just for some person to sit there and say, thank you, but no thank you. Appreciate the participation of coming all the way out here, but I'm changing my mind because I'm an asshole. So at what point in time do we get to say something to try to hold them responsible for the commitment that they made? Did we make a special trip? Yeah, damn right we did. Because had we not had that appointment, you may have planned your day in a different direction. You know, if you had a doctor's appointment and your doctor was across the street and it was at 1 o'clock, and you walked over there at 1 o'clock and there was a sign that said gone fishing, how pissed would you be? Pretty pissed. I canceled shit to make sure I was here, even though it's across the street. I made a special trip to do that. So we've got to be able to sit there and try to some way, somehow, in a way that's not going to get us into a pissing contest, to be able to say something to make them feel bad, make them understand that, dude, you made a commitment and we're here. And we're not like the cable guy. We're not. I mean, hell, I bought a couple TVs and a refrigerator from Best Buy. Best Buy says we're going to be delivering on the 12th. What time are you going to be here? Sometime between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening. We'll call you 4 hours before. 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. If we're not there, then wait some more. That's basically what I got told. We don't do that here. We show up about 5 minutes earlier, 5 minutes late, typically. You know, typically, not all the time, but typically. Okay. We made a special trip and we rearranged our schedule. And it's cool to sit there and tell them that, because those assholes sat there and set it up and made us drive out there. Your guys' time is worth something. And until we start learning that, and as you guys are starting to learn, which is why your margins are so much higher than they used to be, so much higher, because you're worth that. And to go out there and put somebody on the spot because that asshole had you come all the way out there, and now they want to try to push you back because they didn't give you the courtesy of a phone call. Well, I'm sorry I didn't have your number. I didn't know how to get a hold of you. What a load of crap. You got people Googling people all over the damn place to know everything about them, and they couldn't sit there and find a phone number. Give me a break. I'm the most computer stupid person on this phone call, and I know how to sit there and look that kind of crap up, and I'm an idiot. So that's how I would sit there and say that, Miss Diana. Then change the verbiage up just a smidge. But keep in mind, if you got to get after him a little bit, then get after him a little bit. But you're not lying. If you don't pitch, you don't make money. You just
no, I wasn't concerned about the line part. It was just saying it. Like, even just talking about me getting paid is kind of something that I've been trying to get over. But I heard what you said, and I really it makes me feel like I kind of buy into it more than it talking about getting paid. So I understand what you're saying now, and it makes me feel better.
It's going to be a little funny for everybody to say that because it's not something you're used to saying, but it's like I'm sorry, right? It's like saying I'm sorry. I'm a cat that had a hard time saying I'm sorry, you know, but I started saying it so much of my wife. Now, when my wife drops a pot in the kitchen and I'm upstairs, I start hollering out, "Babe, I'm sorry." For what? I don't know, just in case it's my fault. So if you just get used to saying it, then it'll be second nature. But I do it all the time. Crash, sorry, babe. For what? I don't know, but if it was my fault, I'm sorry about that. I don't have a problem with it now. So we just have to get used to saying it. That's all. That's all.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So you're welcome. And sorry for rambling on that, but I really, really wanted to go ahead and throw all that out there. So what else, guys? What else do we have out there? Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Again, something you're not comfortable with.
We had
Then
Go ahead.
All right, thanks. I had a question about the what prompted / cost you to set up the meeting with us question that's supposed to come before talking about business. Seems like they're gonna go into Windows right there, or can you discuss more about that question?
Yeah, this is one of those questions you could either ask or leave out. Okay, and I should have put a little note there. You can ask or leave it out. A lot of it depends on how the warm up goes. So, what I would suggest when you're warming up, the few questions we have to ask, I probably wouldn't fire them out one right after another because we don't want to make this sound like an interrogation. Okay. But if you're feeling like if you ask that question, that it's probably going to go into business right away, then get out. Don't ask it at all. Okay. We can ask it later on. All right. But if this thing is one of these, you're talking to somebody that you can tell likes to visit and wants to visit a little bit, then you can ask, let me ask you a question, boss. Out of curiosity, what prompted you to set this appointment? Out of curiosity, what happened there? Well, my friend did Windows or this or this or this. Because if their friend did Windows, we might want to dig into that a little bit. Really, who do they do business with? Do you know? Maybe it was us. Maybe it was Renewal by Anderson. Maybe it was DeBella. Maybe it was, Seattle Windows and Doors or somebody like that. That's information I would kind of like to know, because if I can get that information, when I start talking about Windows in step number 5, I might want to kind of hit hard on that. Well, earlier you sat there and you talked about Renewal by Anderson. Well, fantastic product. Let me give you the pros and cons of that, and you can be your own better judge. So I can kind of go at that a little more. So that's why I like to ask that question. But if you feel it's going to go into business, then go ahead and leave it out, and we'll just pick it up later. That's all. You can pick it up later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would that be maybe
Quite.
the time to deliver that is if they're being maybe a little bit coy with some of these other questions, like how long you folks live here? It doesn't matter. Is this your forever home? I don't know. Why does that matter? Then you can kind of maybe play that and say, well, hey, just curious, what caused you guys to set this up? Because they're kind of, being resistant.
You could do that too. Or, when you ask a person, and you're going to get it. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody's going to get this at some point in time. You're going to ask somebody, out of curiosity, how long have you lived here? Well, what difference does that make? We're not here to talk about how long I've lived here. We want to talk about Windows. Let's get to it. I'm still going to go down the same word track anyway. Well, you know what, sir? I apologize. Not trying to be nosy. The reason why I was asking that, this is actually for more my benefit than it is anything else. My wife and I just moved here. We literally, our place of residency is literally I-10 and University at the Drury Inn and Suites. That's actually where we're at. One of the advantages I have when I come out here is I get to talk to folks like yourself. And I saw a couple houses in the neighborhood. I was just asking because the question I wanted to ask is, if you had to move a choice of moving, would you still pick this industry or this neighborhood, or would you go a different route? Because I'm trying to find out if this is a place that I would want to be. That's all. I mean, if you don't want to help out like that and get into that, I understand. No worries. 99% of the time they'll go, oh, sorry about that. Well, the reason I'm that way is because the last guy that came out here, man, wanted to talk about all this stupid shit. I get it, sir. Believe me when I tell you, I don't want to be here any longer than you want me here. I certainly want to be respectful of your time, because I know that you're probably going to be the type of person that's going to be respectful of mine. I get it. Okay. But that being said, that's why I was asking. 99 times out of 100, that'll pull them right out of the tree right away. A lot of times that'll get them off the ladder right away. So my word track isn't going to change. I'll just apologize a little bit more. Hey, sorry about that, boss. I didn't mean it like that. Check it out. And usually they'll actually apologize. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, this is a good place. Yeah, we've liked it. Yeah, we do it all over again. So
Okay, no, that makes sense. Thank you. And then after yesterday, we went through here as a group and came up with a few questions. So one of those is, does the gas in there, argon versus krypton versus argon nitrogen blend or the alpha 10, do those affect the type of low E that they can use on the window, or is that non-connected?
it has no bearing on anything at all. So truth be told, guys, if we're talking about low E coatings, God's honest truth, there's only two types of low E coating. That's it. There's hard coat, there's soft coat. That's all. That's all that there is. Okay. Things like soft titanium sputtered low E3, HP Smart Sun low E4, all this other bullshit, Cardinal 366, all that crap, Sun Defense, all that is soft coat. That's it. What cool name we put on it doesn't matter. It's just soft coated low E. Customer doesn't know that, but that's really what it is. The difference between soft and hard coat is very simple. Hard coated low E is actually in the glass itself. It's mixed into the glass. It's called hard coat because it's a pain in the ass to sit there and put in. It's a pain. Okay. Where a soft coat is actually sprayed onto the glass on one of the inside surfaces. All right. And it's very grumpy. It's on the inside because if you barely touch it, and I mean barely, it'll leave a fingerprint no matter what. It's grumpy. So that's going to be in between the two panes of on the inside surfaces of one of the 2 or 3 panes of glass. Okay. How can you tell if a window has hard coat versus soft? That's an easy one there. Take yourself a cotton ball or take yourself a piece of toilet tissue or something like that and rub down the window that way. It'll start sticking because it'll feel like real fine sandpaper. Low E coating, part of what makes up low E is silver, which is actually obviously a metal. Okay. So what happens is in its molten stage, when they put this hard coated low E in, as it dries, the metal floats to the top. So it starts sticking out. If you could look at it under a microscope, it would look something like that, where all these little fingers and pointy things sticking out. So when you rub across it, everything will stick to it. That's the easiest way to sit there and see if it's got low E or hard, if it's hard or soft. You don't see a lot of hard coat. I'm sorry.
So no, that makes sense. With the hard coats, we are doing some research on that a little bit yesterday too, and that being kind of imbued into the glass there. What some of the stuff that we were reading about makes that more fragile as well. Is that accurate? Having that hard coat in glass.
I didn't catch all the question, boss. Say that again.
One of the things that we were reading about yesterday with that was they were saying that the hard coat, because that's like imbued into the glass, that it makes the glass more fragile as well. Is that true? Do you know?
That is true, which is the reason why hard coat's not used a whole lot, because it makes the glass easier to break. Typically, the only time you're really going to see hard coat now, more often than not, is if a window has blinds in between the 2 panes of glass. Okay. The challenge with blinds in between the 2 panes of glass is the blinds open and close and they lower and raise. So as you open and close the window or the door, the damn blinds inside start to wiggle. And what happens is when it touches the glass with soft coated low E coating in it, it's going to sit there and scratch everything up a storm. So what they do is they'll usually use hard coated low E for something like that, because the hard coated low E won't be affected by the blinds hitting it. However, because the glass its strength is not going to be there because you have the metal and everything sticking out, causes the glass to be a lot more fragile. It's kind of like taking a piece of wood, and if you start drilling holes in it all over the place, it's a lot easier to break over your knee because you're taking wood out. It works the same way. Okay. So what you read is accurate. That is correct.
Okay, awesome. And then the last question that we had was kind of related to the spacer systems overall. So what we were trained on originally with A-Line was that, it's the Intercept warm edge spacers, the stainless steel U-channel, that has a layer of silica around it. And then the whole outside of the IGU is sealed with Butyl, which I know the Butyl part is accurate because I saw that when we went to the manufacturing plant. I'm curious though, is the silica part accurate, and what's the purpose of the silica?
Well, it is accurate. It's putting an extra layer in there doesn't actually really help. The big thing that's helping is the butyl rubber. So butyl rubber, when you use butyl rubber, the way they basically do it is you take your U channels basically like this. They run butyl rubber here and here so that the glass is here and here. Now, what happens is the butyl rubber serves several purposes. Number one, butyl rubber never dries, so it cannot break. And it has a tremendous amount of elasticity in it. In other words, forgiveness for change of temperature. So as the aluminum spacer or the stainless steel spacer expands and contracts along with the glass, your butyl rubber moves with that. So the seal doesn't crack, okay? At the same time, it's a temperature ignorant material that doesn't transfer heat or cold, so you don't get any glass to metal contact. Putting the silicone in it, you can. It just sounds cool to go ahead and put it in, but truth be told, the challenge with silicone though is it does dry and it does expand and contract and it cracks. So your butyl rubber is actually the big deal. Butyl rubber is actually a monopoly now for the most part that's put out by Goodyear now. Butyl rubber is also a good shock absorber. So it makes it a little harder for the glass to break. For example, if you sit there and put your hand on a piece of wood and then you whack your hand on that wood, you get a little ouchie there. Take the same wood, put a towel there, do the same thing, and all of a sudden the ouchie is not the same because the towel absorbs shock. So that's what your butyl rubber is for. Most of us older guys, especially, we're a lot more familiar with butyl rubber because the old windshields, the black gooey stuff that used to go around the windshield when we were kids, we used to pull on that and wad it up and throw it and stuff like that. That was all butyl rubber. You notice that seal never broke or water leaks inside through their windshield because butyl rubber never dries, ever. It never dries. So again, it stays pliable and malleable. So it expands and contracts with all movement. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question, Cody.
Yep, good, thank you.
Us is like it keeps out the dirt, dust, and all of that pollen, and it helps. And then were you saying about when you came that Pella and RBA use stainless steel?
Yeah, so the spacer that they're using is what they call a continuous spacer. Continuous spacer meaning with most spacers, what you're used to seeing is the spacer does this, then joins, and then joins, and then joins. So what companies like to talk about is that the corners where they meet is where seal failure comes in. That part is bullshit, okay? But it makes for a good story because anybody that doesn't know, that would sound right, okay? A continuous spacer, however, they'll start right here. They'll run all the way around this way, and then it joins right here at this one seam here. And usually the seam is going to be on the left or the right-hand side of the window as opposed to the top or the bottom, okay? So that's what the argument there is. Now, the stainless steel spacers, the reason why companies use stainless steel is because stainless steel dissipates heat 5 times faster than aluminum does, all right? So by dissipating the heat 5 times faster, the aluminum doesn't absorb the same way, so that conduction from glass to spacer to glass is not near as harsh using stainless steel as it is with aluminum, okay? But it doesn't make it any stronger or anything like that. It has to do with a dissipation rate is all the stainless steel is for, is to dissipate heat 5 times faster. Does that answer your question, Miss Kate?
Yep.
Cool.
I have a question.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm always curious when the seals fail so quickly. And homeowners are often very concerned about seal failure and, of course, it's warranted out of our product, but what would your expert opinion be about talking around why seals fail so early and so often?
Well, that goes back to what we talked about the other day, Miss Michelle. So anytime you're using an aluminum spacer or any type of a metal spacer, if you're using a metal spacer where the glass butts up against the metal spacer and there's not a piece of butyl rubber in between it, there's not a strip there, that damn thing has the possibility of seal failure immediately. How fast? Just depends on how lucky or how unlucky you are, okay? I mean, like me, if I'm in a room with 100 people and there's a mosquito that bites somebody and the mosquito dies after it bites somebody and that person's going to sit there and catch malaria, that damn mosquito will bite me in the ass, I guarantee it, because that's just the kind of luck I have. Okay. So how quick things go and don't go, a lot of it has to do with bad luck. The other thing too, though, and all of you on this call, you'll probably, if you think about this, you'll also see this too. Which windows tend to sit there and condensate faster where you get faster seal failure? Well, in El Paso, I can tell you that most of our wind in El Paso blows from west to east or southwest to southeast. And the winds get really, really heavy. Texas winds are nasty, 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 nasty. Okay. They're nasty. The constant pounding of the wind on those westerly side windows, they're going to probably have seal failure a little faster. Windows that are around a swimming pool where direct sunlight is bouncing off this pool and going into the window tends to act like a magnifying glass. You're going to see seal failure there a little faster on those type of windows as well. The other thing has to do too is where you live. Okay. A lot of where you live makes a big difference. So what I mean by that is I know at the Seattle store for sure, I could be in the Seattle store with all the windows windows and doors closed, blinds and everything shut down, so I can't see a damn thing. But I can tell you every single time a big truck drives by, because I can feel the ground move, because they are right on the street out there in Seattle. Okay. The closer to major streets you live in, the more settling of the ground you're going to get. Seal failure tends to happen a lot more because of the constant pounding of the concrete, which sits there and obviously shakes the house, because we can feel that. Other places would be some places that rain maybe an awful lot, or near a lake or a river or something like that. The closer you get to it, the water table runs underneath everything. Therefore, the ground is a lot more pliable, if you will. So houses settle a lot faster and a lot more there. They move more, especially in a place like Dallas. Fucking Dallas is terrible when it comes to settling there. That's the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay. Another place would be closer to mountains you get. Okay. I mean, how is a mountain created? Tectonic plates hit one another, push on each other, causing everything to go up. Well, it's like a blanket. If you got a flat blanket and you put something on the end and you grab it from the middle and you pull it up, all of a sudden everything starts to move in. So what happens is over the years in those areas there, as the mountain continues to rise, it literally starts sucking everything in. Therefore, there's going to be more settling of the home on that as well. All those things is what causes seal failure. It isn't exactly just the how it's put together. There's a lot of things that play into that. Okay. Direct sunlight, especially if it's heavy sunlight, you tend to see seal failure more in those areas there. When you start getting into windows like ours, or say Provia's window, Provia doesn't use a metal spacer. They use a polypropylene spacer, and that polypropylene spacer is 100% pure temperature ignorant, and it does not expand or contract, which is the reason why they don't get seal failure. Better windows like ours, unless the window fails in the first 30 days, that window is never going to condensate unless the glass breaks, unless there's a glass fracture. Now, sometimes seal failure comes from not so much the seal itself, but fractured glass. As we all know on this call, or at least most of us do, for those that don't, then this will help. When we sit there and we make a window, and a window is made, here is the window frame itself, like this, the sash, if you will. We have our glass, but the glass actually comes all the way down below the frame line, all the way around, like this. Well, sometimes you have a fracture in the glass that's going to be here underneath the frame line. Okay. So you didn't necessarily have seal failure, as what happened is the glass fractured, but it fractured underneath the frame line, so you can't see it. So all these things cause that. And of course, as the house settles more likely, it's not always seal failure. More often than not, a lot of times, it's just a fractured glass underneath the frame line. And the weakest part of any piece of glass is going to be its edges. The edges are the weakest part. And of course, the edges sit underneath the frame line. So a lot of time, that's actually what you get. So all these are things that causes seal failure. These are things you can cover with some of your customers for sure. You know, they'll again make you sound like the expert, but how fast it is, just bad luck, Miha. It's just bad luck. Other windows would be worse than others. If you get these brown aluminum windows as opposed to white or the anodized aluminum, the brown is going to go ahead and tend to sit there and fail a little faster because the brown is a darker color, so it absorbs more heat faster. Okay, so those are all the reasons it causes for stuff like that, Miss Michelle, if that helps you.
Thank you.
Terry, I got a question.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
So in Dallas, there's a lot of aluminum windows and there's a lot of butyl. It seems like we see a lot of butyl generally around. Why would the butyl, if the butyl's as good as it is, why is there so much seal failure in Dallas? Is it
Well,
just
there's
because
not.
of the other aspects of it, of the
No,
ground moving
no,
and all the other things you mentioned?
No, because it's not butyl that you're looking at. What you're looking at is black rubber, which is the reason why you're seeing cracks and stuff like that in that too. That is not butyl rubber. Okay. Butyl rubber will not crack. It is impossible. It never dries. Something can only crack if it dries. If it never dries, it cannot crack. Okay. What you're looking at is the black rubber in between that, and that is different than butyl rubber. Butyl rubber is a lot like Play-Doh. It's a lot like clay. And even Play-Doh and clay, as we were kids, never sat there and cracked until it dried out. Butyl rubber does not dry. Okay. So what you're seeing is not butyl rubber. So butyl rubber actually has a swiggle strip in it as well. If you could cut it open and look from the top down, your butyl rubber will be like this with an aluminum swiggle strip in it. The swiggle strip is so it'll add strength to it. The one and only drawback to butyl rubber, other than its cost, is that butyl rubber in extreme heat, especially, butyl rubber tends to snake through the glass and it starts to raise up. When you start seeing that, that is 100% for sure butyl rubber, guaranteed. Okay. But butyl rubber will tend to snake. But even though it tends to snake, it still doesn't sit there, and you still don't get condensation in that more often than not. And if you do, then I can assure you that there's a crack in the glass somewhere. But butyl rubber cannot crack it by ever,
So
even if it's out in the
that,
sun.
Is it butyl that we're seeing when it kind of like runs down the glass, looks like it's dripping because it melted or something like that, or is that something else?
That's butyl more often than not. So since we use butyl in our window, sometimes some of that spooge you see coming down, depending on what color it is, it could be the butyl rubber. But even though you see that, you're not getting condensation, are you?
Oh, I don't know. I've just seen
No.
some windows that on homes that we've had that it just looks nasty because it looks like it's dripping down
Yeah,
in or on the
again,
window.
that's what it's going to be. It could be that, or it could be the silicone that's in it and it's moving. It could be that as well, that they got over, they over applied. So when everything is pressed together, you get that spooge coming out, if you want to call it that. I don't know if that's a real technical name, but it's what I would call it.
Oh my God, I just almost threw the coffee out.
I believe that's the scientific name that was assigned to it. It's
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
That's a good name. It's like for realsies. For realsies is a real word, and I know it is because I invented it, so it has to be real. Because for realsies is a correct saying. Just so you know, for realsies. Okay. Anything else?
So I don't
Yeah.
know what kind of window seals do we use? I know I'm new and probably everybody else knows, but I have no idea. What do we use?
So I'm gonna give you about a real quick 1 minute on this, and I'm gonna ask you, can we table this one for when we get into step 5 next week? But what we use is basically it's a double interceptor spacer seal or spacer. So we use an interceptor seal. The only difference is we use 2 of them since it's triple pay. Okay. But to answer your question, it's the interceptor seal is what it is. An interceptor seal is a lot like your regular aluminum spacers or stainless steel spacers. The only difference is with the interceptor, your standard aluminum or stainless steel is like this being your top. With the interceptor, it's actually this way with the U channel, if you will, where this is actually the top. That's the only difference between an interceptor versus something else. And then from there, the butyl rubber here on the side, along with maybe a coat of silicone on it, and the glass pressed up against it. Other than that, it's no different than this is, with the exception of adding this and this and flipping it in the other direction. That's all.
Terry, I have a question on that. So when you keep drawing this about the butyl rubber, you're kind of putting it basically as like a little strip at the bottom of the glass, pressed in between the spacers. When we were at the plant, they, at least for the AMI one, because I don't remember when we were at the GDI one, but at least at the AMI plant, like that butyl is filling the entire gap between the pieces of glass and completely covering the spacer. It's like a full, almost an inch of butyl through there, right?
Again, it could be, it just depends on the factory and how they want to apply it. So that butyl rubber could actually just be here or here. It could actually run all the way across to here. It just depends on who the factory is and the amount of money they want to spend to use it. But what they're in the end, what they're just trying to do is make sure there's a barrier of temperature ignorant material between the glass and the metal, so it's not conducting heat or cold, and something that they can put that will allow for the expansion contracting of the two products, since they both have different thermal temperatures. That's all. So could that be that way? For sure, Cody, it can, for sure. Just depends on who the factory is, but you're right in all of that.
Would that help it seal like better, prevent seal failure more, having the butyl all the way through there to like prevent more leakage or anything?
It does. I mean, truth be told, if you want to know the best spacer in the industry, the best spacer in the industry is a 100% butyl rubber spacer. That is the best, hands down. It's got the lowest solar heat gain coefficient of any spacer in the US. It absorbs tremendous shock. So any window that is using strictly that only is very, very, very hard to break. It's very hard to break, okay? Because it absorbs so much shock. The problem with straight butyl rubber spacers like that is in your high heat areas such as Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, Southern California, places like that. Because of the high heat, you tend to sit there and get more snaking with the product. So you don't see as many factories that are using that in most places because of that, okay? But that is the only drawback to butyl rubber. The drawback to butyl rubber is it snakes under high heat especially. And of course out here, it's a lot. The heat here is brutal.
Yeah. Is Pella the one that has that one?
Negative. Pella does not use it. So companies off the top of my head that use straight butyl rubber seals, Wendell Mart would sit there and be one. Wendell Mart's out of Royal, Arkansas. They call their depending on which window you're looking at, whether it's the 1000 series or the Alaskan 2000, they'll put that out. Bristol used to use one. Winchester Industries used to use one. Certainty for a while was using that. Geldwin for a little while was using that. I mean, there's a lot of factories out there that have used it and have gone away from it. One, because of the high heat challenges, and number two, because of its cost. It is a more expensive product. You take, for example, Pella, AMI, Allside, for depending on the part of the country that the factory is coming out of. You look at Renewal by Andersen, you look at Pella. A lot of these companies use a block and tackle pulley system for their window to open and close their single hungs and their double hungs. Okay, well, what a piece of shit that stuff is. But they use it because it's cheaper than a constant force tension coil. A constant force tension coil is way, way better. But at the same time, too, it's also bigger pain in the behind to replace when they go bad. Because if you're not careful with that damn thing, it'll take a thumb off if you're not careful. So companies tend to use a cheaper product, one, for maintenance reasons, and number two, just because of the overall cost. I mean, these factories are putting out 50, 60, 70, 80,000 pieces a week. And for a product that might be 75 or 85, 90 cents more, when you're pumping out 50 and 60,000 pieces, that's a boatload of dough right there. That is a boatload of dough. So that's why these companies will use an inferior closer. Truth be told, the interceptor seal or the straight polypropylene spacer that even Provia uses, or the 1-inch super spacer, any of that stuff there is actually inferior to the butyl rubber seal. But because of its cost, most companies tend to not use it anymore because of its cost. And it's a big cost. It's a lot like Renewal by Andersen. Renewal by Andersen has the monopoly on Fibrex because they invented it. Butyl rubber is monopolized by Goodyear. So Goodyear puts a premium price on it because if you want it, you have to come to them to get it.
Okay. And we're gonna go over all this in step 5 at length, right? You said, cool.
Any other questions? Does that answer your questions all out there, Mr. Jenkins?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody have any other questions before we move forward? All right, let's
I've
get
got a
into it then a little bit. Yep, talk to me.
So like back to the kind of the script, like the closing questions at the end of the inspection when we're saying like, would you agree that this is costing you money on a daily basis? Them having a background of that, are we explaining like during the inspection, is that when we're bringing up their heat and cooling loss and the effect it's having on their AC units longevity? When are we talking about that to set up that question?
So let's table this for a fast second because I'm getting ready to actually climb into that right now. Okay, so I don't want to push you off, Matt, but we're getting ready to actually get into that. So I'll do that for you right now. Okay. Other than Matt's question about that, anybody else have any questions? All right, cool. Let's get into it. So I would imagine at this point in time, we don't have a big problem. Do we have any big questions about warming up or how to warm up or anything like that? Anything at all? So are we good on the warm up? Okay. The only thing I'll add to the warm up is this, especially if you're the married, well, it works if they're a married couple or they're not. If you feel like that they're getting into business too fast and you want to try to kill that off a little bit without sitting there, and being a fart about the whole thing, ask for something to drink. Okay. They get, you know what, sir? Hold on real quick. Ma'am, if you don't mind, been a long day. I've sat there and talked to, can I steal a glass of ice water from you real quick? This way somebody gets up to go and get that. Then if he still wants to talk, well, you know what, sir? Not a problem, sir. I'll jump on that. Let's wait for your wife to go ahead and get back because I certainly don't want to feel like I'm leaving her out. I feel horrible if I feel like I was ignoring her. I don't want her to think I'm ignoring her. A lot of times just ask for something to drink and somebody will go up and get it. I've never been in a house, at least myself, where I said, can I steal a glass of ice water where somebody goes, yeah, no ice water for you. I've never had that before. So if one of you ever get that, I damn sure enough want to know about that one. And then I think we need to send that customer a Unabomber letter because that's some brutal crap to not give somebody something to drink, So
Your subscription Sparklets.
Say that again.
Oh, we can send him a 1-year subscription to Sparklets.
Yeah, something like that, man. I can tell you this too. In Arizona, especially from Phoenix moving south, it is actually, if you were a business, if somebody walks into your place of employment and asks you for water, you have to give it to them. That's the law here. You actually have to do it.
That's
Because-
Disneyland.
Because of our heat here. That's no joke. Somebody walks in and says, hey, look, can I get a glass of water? You have to sit there and get them a glass of water. You have to give it to them. So anyway, that's what I would say, just to say that, is just ask somebody for a glass of water, something to drink. And while you're doing that, chances are you can, especially if it's a married couple, if it's the husband that gets up or the wife that gets up, doesn't matter. While you're waiting, then you can bring up a conversation and start talking about something else. So this way, when the wife comes in, she's hearing a different kind of conversation, or the husband, then you can sit there and see if you can get them to join in on that by really, is that how you feel, or however you work that out? Okay. So we're good there. The second part now that we're going to get into then is going to be the inspection. So I can go ahead and get to that question here pretty quick, Matt, as to what you are saying. So do me a favor, in case anybody else forgot, ask your question, please, one more time, Matt.
Basically, like the closing question of, would you agree that the condition your windows are in are costing you money on a daily basis? How are we setting up for them to agree with that? At what point are we telling them, hey, your windows are costing you money, or kind of hinting at that for them to agree to that question?
Okay, so some things to talk about when you're inspecting, as we start to see challenges with the windows and all these things here. Look, you're gonna walk into some houses, right? And they're gonna have white aluminum double pane windows. The window sills are gonna be nice and clean. The windows will look like they're brand spanking new. And the first thing in your mind is gonna be, oh my God, there's nothing wrong with these windows. They're not out of square. They all lock right. They're not wiggling back and forth. What the hell am I supposed to do here? Well, we got to make mountains out of molehills. So what we do know is with an aluminum window, double pane or not, aluminum itself transfers heat and cold from one side to another. Okay. Aluminum is highly conductive of heat and cold. There is no doubt. For any of us that's ever made a pot of beans or soup or whatever, you can take a metal spoon this long and put this much of it in hot water, and the entire thing gets hot sooner or later. Okay. So what we do know is that aluminum windows will conduct heat and cold. Therefore, there's got to be heating and cooling lost there. Would we agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that. The fact that they're contractor grade double pane windows, we also know that there's metal to metal or glass to metal contact. And a lot of times in Dallas, when it's cold, you put your hand up on the double pane window, you can feel the cold coming through the glass. You can feel it. Okay. So again, there is heating and cooling lost or gained. But here's another one for you. Okay. I'm gonna use Mr. Jenkins here and Tall Matt. All right. Both of you have sold windows before for different companies. Okay. How many times have you walked into a customer's house and they're telling you, look, my picture window here, I like to sit here and read my newspaper or whatever, but I can feel a draft coming through the window. This is one of the reasons why I want to replace it. How many times have you heard that, Mr. Jenkins?
At least once or twice a month.
Tall Matt, how many times, brother? A
Yeah,
lot, I
yeah,
would say.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the truth of that. They're not feeling a draft coming through the window. If they were feeling draft coming through the window, then how come that window's not leaking dirt and dust or water, right? How is that? Because here's what happens. Remember the other day when we were talking about convection, right? And we were talking about how heat seeks cold. So what happens is in the wintertime, the warmer part of the house is going to be the center of the house. So as the warmer part of the house is there, as that heat is drawn to that picture window, because it's a big window, it's a cold spot, as it's drawn to that window, the closer it gets to the window, that air movement starts to cool down. And as it cools down, it also picks up speed. What the customer is feeling is not the draft coming in. What they're feeling is the heat going out. And that curtain movement or the movement with the plants or something like that, that is not air coming in. It's a damn picture window. It doesn't leak. It's actually the air escaping. It's the heat escaping. But as the heat gets closer to the cold spot, it picks up speed. So as we're in the house and we're talking to these people, one of the things we want to talk about, of course, is conduction, all these other good things, bad weather stripping and all that, how it allows for draft to come in, how the heat is racing to get out. And then we want to follow up with something along these lines here. If you talk to any refrigerated air company, any gas company, or any electric company, for the most part, they will all tell you that 90% of all heating and cooling lost or gained in the house is through your windows and doors. 90% of all heating or cooling lost or gained is through your windows and doors. That is a fact. That is a bona fide true fact. As sure as hell as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, that is a fact. It does not matter how good their walls are insulated. It does not matter how good their attic is insulated. It does not matter. 90% of all heating and cooling lost or gained is lost and gained through your windows and doors. Okay. At the same time, too, let me see here. Cameron, you live in a house or an apartment?
A house.
House. So think about this one for a second. If you were to measure all the windows and doors on your house, and you were to compare those windows and doors to the outer walls of your home only, just the outer walls. For example, if this is your kitchen here and this is your kitchen wall, but your cabinets are right here, and then you have wall, this would be the outer wall only. This doesn't count. Would it be safe to assume that 35% of the outer walls of your home are made up of glass?
Correct.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, yes, correct, yeah.
Now, Kate, I'm not going to ask because her whole damn house is glass, you know. But if you think about this for a minute, the average house in the United States, regardless of where you live, 35% of the outer walls of your home are going to be made up of windows and doors, okay? And if that means you have a hole in 35% of your walls, because the only thing your windows are good for today is they keep out the birds. That's it. They keep out birds, dirt, dust, heat, cold, little critters, stuff like that. They don't even keep bears out. The damn things walk through that, but they do keep out birds. Okay. So if 35% of your windows and doors or your walls are made up of windows and doors, and the windows and doors that they currently have right now are, you know, POSs, if you will, and they're allowing all that, then it is safe to assume that 90% of heating and cooling lost or gained is lost and gained through that big hole, right? When we inspect, this is what we have to talk to them about why we inspect. Here are the challenges that you have, folks. Look at all this, look at this. 35% of your windows and doors is made up of, or your outer walls of your home is made up of windows and doors. This is where all your heating and cooling is lost or gained. Yeah, well, I got good insulation in my attic, bro. I've got like R90 and my walls are 12 feet thick. Right. But that doesn't change the fact, though, that 35% of these 12-foot thick walls are made up of window and door. And because you have this inferior product, this is where 90% of all your heating and cooling is lost and gained. Now, I'm not saying that 90% of that is their electric or gas bill. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is 90% of what's lost or what comes into the house, depending on the time of the year, is where it's coming from. So while we're explaining that, then all of a sudden, when we sit there and ask the question, you know, would you agree that your windows are costing you money on a daily basis? It's a lot harder for them to ignore that. Here's another one, dirt and dust. Okay. Look, everything that we do, we can put a dollar value on everything we do. You can put a dollar value on the time it took you to drive from your house to get to the chair that you're sitting in now. You know, what does that cost? We can put a dollar value with me being on this phone call, all of the MSPs being on this phone call that are actually employees, that it's costing us money just to sit here and go through this stuff. Okay. So we can put a dollar value on everything. So let's talk about dirt and dust for a minute. Dirt and dust. Well, it ruins carpets. You know, it ruins furniture. What about somebody that's got asthma? What about somebody that has allergies? You know, what it costs to go to a doctor, what it costs to go get another thing of albuterol, what it's going to sit there and cost to do any of that. Here's another one for you. Who here on this phone call has replaced a refrigerator before? Ever? Somebody.
I have.
Who's I?
Cody.
Got you. Okay, so check this out. Typically when a refrigerator goes bad, how do we find out if it goes bad unless it takes a crap right away? It's always, man, things aren't being cold. So you turn it up a little more, and you turn it up a little more, and you turn it up a little more till you got it on full blast. It's not keeping things cold anymore. It's time to replace it. Well, here's the funny thing about that refrigerator. And I actually got this from a customer who repairs appliances and TVs. More often than not, if you take that refrigerator, pull it away from the wall, get back to where the motor is, or unplug the refrigerator, clean that motor out, because it is going to be nasty with all kind of dirt and dust and crap that has caked up on it over the years. If you do that and clean all that out, turn your refrigerator back on, more often than not, the refrigerator will go right back to working like it's supposed to, because the dirt and the dust causes that motor to go to get weird. Same thing with the old TVs. What do they used to do with bad TVs? They vacuum out all the tubes and crap like that, put it together, the TV works. Now get it, I'm an old man, so I'll sit there and put it to you this way. Most of us here have had a DVD player at one time or another, or an Xbox or something like that. You put your DVD in, you step back, you turn it on, it gets all snowy and crap. You hit the eject button, you do one of these numbers here, you do, and then you put it in, and the damn thing works, right? Now, clearly you don't think you had a magic shirt, you know? Clearly you don't think you have a magic shirt or magic breath, do you? So dirt and dust, what is a problem with dirt and dust? Well, ruins furniture, ruins TVs, ruins carpets, computers, VCRs, Xboxes, all this other stuff, okay? As we all know, when it comes to computers and stuff, dirt and dust is not your friend in your computer, not your friend at all. So what does that cost to replace that? What does it cost for that, right? So there is a price that we can put on dirt and dust. There is. What about the time to sit there and do it? What if you were a customer and if I could stop 83 to 88% of the dirt and the dust that you're not stopping right now, and you didn't have to vacuum as much, sweep as much, mop as much, or dust as much, what would that be worth to you? Is it worth 20 bucks a month? Is it worth 50 bucks a month? I don't know. It depends on who you are. Okay. The other thing too.
83%, Terry. I haven't heard that percentage before. Like generally,
what?
is that pretty accurate? That 80, you said 80, like cut down 83% of the dirt and the dust that's currently coming into the home. Is that a pretty accurate number there for like most homes?
That's a pretty accurate number. That's why I say 83 to 88. When our windows are in their locked in closed position, we can stop about 83 to 88% of the dirt and the dust that their windows currently don't stop right now. Okay. That is a fact. So how is a window tested out of curiosity for dirt and dust? They pump it with gypsum.
Can I add something to that? I live in a house, the 205, well, the freeway is in like the back of my house with one of those like 15-foot tall concrete walls. And prior to replacing my windows, I had single pane aluminum windows with storms. And we had to dust, and I'm not joking, every single day because of how dusty it would be inside of the house. And the windows would rattle when semis drive by, which was another nuisance. And then after we replaced the windows, we dust like once a week now. I mean, it is insane, the difference.
Yep. So again, what kind of dollar amount do you put on that? What kind of dollar amount do you put on it? Okay. Another thing that we can talk about too, what's the biggest dollar amount that we can put on our windows? There's only one answer to this. Who has it? The biggest dollar amount we can put.
Security.
Roger that. Security. Security is the biggest thing that we can put on all. Well, $1 million is a good answer too, because what's your family worth? What's your family worth? What kind of price would you put on the safety and the security of your family? What would you put? Well, it depends on who you are, I guess. If you're the cat trying to catch on electricity or on the insurance rather, well, there you have it. Whatever that insurance policy is. But the point is that's a dollar amount. Okay. What kind of price do you put on the safety of your family? So when we're walking around and we're inspecting windows and we see single pane windows or double pane windows with shitty locks, or they don't lock at all and they're rattling up a storm, making it easier for somebody to go ahead and get into, or even a double pane window. Triple pane is going to be better than double pane as far as harder to go ahead and break into. We have die-cast steel locks, triple pane glass. That's harder to get into. Is it burglar proof? Shit, no, it's not. But it's way better than the next door neighbor probably has. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm an asshole like this. I would much rather sit there and feel sorry for my neighbor because somebody broke into their house than they feel sorry for me because somebody broke into mine. I'm going to tell you that right now. And with all due respect to everybody on here, and half of you I know real well, and I love you all, I still would rather feel bad for you than you feel bad for me.
Word.
Just the way it is. So when we ask the question, can you see where these windows are costing you money on a daily basis? As we're going through our inspection and explaining to them all these things, how can a customer not say anything but yes to this question? How? If we did our job correctly, there is no way somebody can say no to that unless that person is just an idiot. And there's no cure for it. There's no cure for being an idiot. Okay. You know, I had a conversation with Cody last night, and one of the things that we talked about was exactly this. And I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up real quick because you can go potty, brother. You're good. You know. So.
You using this opportunity to talk some shit?
You know. So what we talked about is this. I firmly believe in my heart, no matter what any rep can tell me, no matter what anybody, I don't care if Moses came back to life and said I was wrong, I still disagree with Moses. Okay. There are two, I think that a sales rep, if they don't sell something, then it's their fault 99% of the time. There's only two things we as salespeople cannot overcome. We cannot overcome poverty, and we cannot overcome ignorance. Poverty and ignorance is the only two things we can't overcome. Anything else, unless that customer is just an absolute goofball, or they just can't afford it and they can't sit there and, you know, rub two nickels together to make a dime, then there is a deal there some way, somehow, and we missed it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are exceptions to the rules. Somebody's under bankruptcy. That stuff don't count. That's the exception to the rule, and we're not going to talk about exceptions to the rules. Okay? But for the most part, those are the only two things a salesman cannot overcome: poverty and ignorance. So when we put that information out the way that we do in our inspection, and somebody still says, no, I don't see the windows are costing you money on a daily basis, that person there probably needs to be committed. You should probably do them a favor and call, you know, like the 4th floor from your nearest hospital and get them some help. And then get the hell out of Dodge before that ignorance rubs off on you. Okay. But there's no way for a customer to say no to this. So as we're inspecting, these are the things we're wanting to go ahead and bring up. And the good thing, and the reason why we're bringing them up, because in the close, when we start doing closing, we're going to bring up an awful lot of stuff when a customer starts trying to wiggle around. And then we're going to go ahead and use their answers. Okay. So when we talk about that locks, folks, is not very secure. Obviously, Mr. Jenkins, you certainly want to make sure that your family is put in a better position, especially when you're not home, for safety. I would imagine you would say yes to that, right? So, you know, you better hear, because the wife isn't looking at you and she better think she's worth being saved. You know, he has to say yes. So later on, when I sit there and say, well, Mr. Jenkins, as you said earlier, safety is a concern because of this, this, and this, I can use that. So when we bring up a point, we want to drive it home with them to get them to say yes to us on all these little micro closes. Okay. Because that's how you sell. You don't talk people into buying shit. We get them to sit there and tell us things so we can use their answers against them. Because we can always go back and say, well, so, you know, do what?
Lock that door.
Lock that door, baby. That's what we do. So that's how we inspect. So when we inspect, it's just not a matter of, whoa, that sucks. You know, we got to get into this thing. You know, folks, you got this here. The dirt and dust infiltration is here. So what is the problem with dirt and dust? Well, I don't know if anybody in your family has allergies or not, but that comes out of, you know, what does that cost us? You know, TVs, refrigerators, VCRs, all these things. We want to talk about all of this. Okay. We want to talk about all of this. Something tells me the Shadow Meister is getting ready to walk in here.
He is.
He damn well had better sat there and brought us some turkeys, since he's the chef here. I don't see a turkey in your bag, dude.
You want to know the worst part of all of it? Today's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Shadow. How old are you now, Shadow?
How old are you? 35,
35.
halfway
Oh, wait.
there.
Hold on. Let me see if I can do this the way Shadow does it. Yo, Shadow. Hey, man, how old are you, man? You 35 years old with your Barry White sounding ass. Happy birthday, bro. So,
Happy
that
birthday,
being
Shadow.
said, yeah, happy birthday, Shadow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, when we're inspecting, guys and gals, keep in mind, as we start finding these things, we want to make sure we're letting them know what the drawback is to it. You cannot assume that they know the same thing you do, because they don't. Keep in mind, windows are made to look through, not look at. Nobody looks at their windows, they look through them unless they have a problem. Our job is to get them to look at it. So when we find the challenges that we find, make sure we point out, here are the repercussions from having this way. These are the repercussions from that. Okay. That's how you inspect. Everything we find, we're going to sit there and say something. You know, we're going to make sure we say something. But keep in mind, after we inspect 2 or 3 windows, at the same time, too, we want to make sure that we let them know that this is not their fault. Okay. You're going to run across a guy that's going to say, yeah, well, I guess you are saying it's my fault because I had these windows replaced 7 years ago. Well, you know what, Mr. Blaylock, again, 7 years ago, you didn't know anything about windows like you're going to know today. Not your fault. However, just so you know, though, I will say this. Whatever happens after today, sir, is 100% on you then, and you'll have to take ownership at that point. But up till now, sir, this is not your fault. You only knew what it is that you knew, boss. If you knew then what you're going to know now, you never would have put these in. So this is not on you. This is not your fault. But it is after today, though. Okay. So that's how the proper way to inspect. So we use the answers that they gave us from the hot button question. We add our own little sum where we happen to find it, you know, and then we sit there and let them know the repercussions for what's still going on and what would actually happen in the future. So now when we sit there and say, well, folks, we've inspected all the windows. I have to say, number one, do you have any questions for me at all? No questions. Well, I got a couple for you. I mean, obviously replacing the windows is something you're going to do someday, obviously, based on what we've seen. Again, we know it's not today, but obviously someday, correct? Yes. Would you also agree, though, that because of the condition the windows are in now, would you agree now that the windows are in fact costing you money on a daily basis? Would you agree with that? Yes. So doing something sooner rather than later, if possible, that'd be the better way to go, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Very cool. We'll move on. Very cool. We move on. Okay. So the commitments are important because every one of these commitments that we get and the little micro closing questions we're going to ask all will come back to haunt these people. I can promise you that. If we do our job correctly, when we get down into the close, I can promise you that we're going to get them then. We're going to get them then. Do what?
Oh, I was just, I'm getting excited. We're gonna honor them. Let's go.
Oh yeah. We're going to get, you know, as I would sit there and say, we're going to get that ass. The best way to keep from being sold is to not speak. Okay. So again, we've got to sit there and build a genuine need first. Okay. Hold on. I got a rep in the house. Hold on, guys. This is Terry. Yep. All right, do it. Bye. Sorry about that.
Terry Soprano.
That was a rep asking for permission to sell at a 36% margin. So anyway, we've got to be able to, again, what do we need to do to sell? What do we need? Well, rule number 1, make a friend, control the environment, manipulate the environment. That is rule 101 when it comes to selling. If you were to take a Dale Carnegie class, they're going to tell you that right away. First rule of selling, make a friend, control the environment, and then manipulate the environment. Number 2, you must create need, want, and desire. The want and the desire, that's the easy part. That's easy. It's the need that's the hard part. The need that they have to believe that they need to do something today, not push this off for later because they've been living with this thing for X amount of years. And if we could create enough need to do something now, then you have a much, much better chance of selling something now. Okay. Selling that person and creating need that's in the middle of shopping and they're looking for a better price and we come up with a better price. Oh, hell, man, we can get Ray Charles to do that. And that cat's dead and blind. He could do that. That's the easy part. Okay. It's sitting there and selling to people that didn't think about windows until we knock on that door. That was kind of sort of, I don't know if I want to do this or not. I know my parents did, but I don't know if I really need that. It's those people, and we see a lot of them. Those are the people we have to turn into right now. And the easiest way to do it, you got to create need. And we create need in our inspection. What's the purpose of the inspection? Convince John and Mary that the home is woefully inadequate and in need of their immediate attention. Because the current condition that the windows are in are costing them money on a daily basis. And if we can get them to sit there and believe that, people will beg, cheat, borrow, and steal to buy windows. I don't care what they do as long as they buy. Hell, I'll drop them off at the bank so they can go rob the damn thing as long as I don't have to sit out in front of the bank and wait for them. Our job is not to sit there and think for their money. Our job is to put a compelling story in front of them that they realize that not doing something is a mistake. That's what the inspection is for, is to create that need. The better your inspection, the better chance you'll have of sitting there selling that deal for those people that's never thought about it before. Okay. Any questions about the inspection so far? Anything at all? Very cool. Let's go ahead and do this then. I've got 8:14. Let's get back at 8:24. Give everybody a quick break. Check your emails, all that other good stuff. Because unlike, oh, I'm sorry, 10:14. 10:14.
I was like, Terry, did you like go to Hawaii or something, bro? Like, where are you at?
10:14, bro. Yeah, I may have messed that up. You know what? I'd like to say something cute that I was sitting there betting that nobody would catch it, but hell, I can't even say that, man. I just plain screwed that up. So I'll see everybody here in 10 minutes, and we'll get back after it then, guys. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Terry.
Yeah,
Just sit there. It does look like that. It's really, yeah, it's slowing going down. It's so much fun, but the tow company couldn't.
Yeah, he's actually good.
So they had to hot this stuff. Like all night. I'm just waiting for the tow company this morning to come pick up the truck. And they had to go. So my neighbor,
Oh my God.
She was about 60. I was talking to her boss. I was talking to her. I'll put her in the sidewalk. I'm gonna go throw the rest of the way to my car. Like,
Wait, what?
That's
so if anybody wants anything out in there, throw the rest of the way. Cool. Awesome. I started to
I took more stuff out of
walked out
y'all's
to the
mind.
car.
Well,
That was maybe my neighbors.
so it's for here for him.
Ex-husband.
Seriously, I'm doing this.
But I used to go to the car and go like a truck or something, but I walked up to the truck.
Well, I think we're going to Cheerios.
And then I looked back
There
and
you go.
like cop car had it.
Yeah, something like that.
Just like sweet.
Some honey in a nut.
Sat in my car.
chat type of thing. Yeah, I don't know, but we have it here. Hopefully sometime in the next like 4 or 5 hours. I was like, okay, cool.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's not starting out so sad. What do you think?
I don't know, probably get some sushi, hang out. I'm gonna go hang out with some friends and do like actually go out on Saturday. Just thinking
We're gonna do an office.
You ever been to Sushi Mazi?
is that the place you were showing me?
Oh, did I already show it to you?
Yeah.
It's so sick.
I like your position.
Right?
The giant ones of it.
Yeah, I don't wear this one very often, but it's really cool. It's got the little homeless thumbs.
We're Eddie's, bro. I remember high school, like doing the
Oh,
the girls would
that's
do
right.
this and we're like Eddie's and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
belts.
Yeah.
I had this old sweatshirt in high school that she was old cooking that
Yeah.
just organically somehow a whole.
That's what
like,
That cop was posted up all night.
and then I was like,
Just
oh my
waiting
gosh,
for it to come back.
genius. So then I.
Well, so they arrested 3 guys.
Oh,
Because they stole the truck and apparently was shooting. But they like, they not up in my area, like they chased these guys all the way, finally got them.
They're here, and they had arrested them.
So they got out of the truck, I guess, and tried to bolt, and like the cop cars that my neighbors told me this, there's like there were like 3 cop cars there, and they like tried to bolt, they got them all, arrested them, took them, but they had to leave the truck. And so the cop was, the cop was posted up all night, and he was like, yeah.
All the nation.
I'm like, excuse me.
Well, yeah, that was it, he was like, no, it's because it was involved in a crime, we have to tow it back to our lot, it can't just get towed. And so he was like, our guy's gonna be here sometime in the next few hours.
It's
Great, yeah, great.
a great site.
So I was just like, oh, it's so annoying, cause like, I was like, maybe I can drive off, but this is a big like walk over, and I was like, I'm not gonna get it just watching the cop.
Gonna have to, you know, like drive over your landlord's property.
I accidentally touched the truck and the car was right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun, I just sat in my car and.
How was that also back?
I
just sitting there.
Well, it's like Casey was sleeping, and I didn't go back inside, wake the dog up, get her up, yeah, just sit out here and sip my coffee.
So either that or.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's like for like snow or like Superman, I don't think it's necessary for today.
Ooh.
Rails, baby.
It's that random. Like hiking. Sort of.
We're 5 as a matter of fact. All right, give me a squeeze, maybe candy, bring dates on a sheet or something.
Oh, good to see you.
Me too.
Oh.
Let me know where you guys land tonight, maybe I'll come meet up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get lunch with my mom and my sister after this,
Okay.
I'm gonna get my haircut, so I'll be home around probably like 4:35. And I was like, hey, so like, we just go grab some like sushi or something, I'll keep it low key, cause I'm gonna get to bed at night, so. I was thinking this weekend, maybe something, and then maybe like next Friday or something.
Okay. Well, I have a residual, so I could go out.
So I'll text you.
Let's do that. I will most likely have to, I don't think that he's gonna leave me today. This is his preference, so.
Did you guys do anything yet with the run-throughs?
No, we just went through and answered.
Questions?
Yeah, question answers, that was the first hour.
Yeah, he FaceTimed me in probably like last 15 minutes of that. I was stressing it last night,
I don't know why either.
Always do.
It's not bad, it's, I think they're pretty easy, yeah.
Just like, just ran through everything for lunch. Just like, fine.
Well, and when I got home from the week last night, I went over and dinner with Tanner and Judy, and I really only got one through before Judy left, and I just read it right off, because he was like, okay, you go, and I'm like, just got here. I went over to Pinky right now, and I just read it, and he goes, that sounded really good though, and I'm like, I actually did with Kevin the night before, so on the very first night, he came over for a little bit, and I was running through it with him and just having somebody that doesn't know what you're supposed to
Yeah.
say was really helpful just because he was like, oh, I don't like that. And I'm like, okay, what if I say it like this? And I would do it again. And he's like, yeah, that sounded better. Or nope, that was worse. And then we go back to this or change this. So it was kind of nice to have that outside perspective. So when you're doing it with people that know what you're supposed to say, it makes it a lot harder because that really is like your fucking memory, right?
I told Casey that we were talking about maybe doing some like jam sessions over the next couple of weeks kind of thing. It's just if we want some outside person who's not training, she's like, I could come and be like your guys'
We can do
homeowner,
it
or if you guys want to like help with like a meditation or anything on that. Just like,
Yeah, she offered it to me last week. She was like, let me know if you want to do some workers. I'm like, okay, well. But we could.
jam out here.
Yeah, there's no reason why we couldn't.
Guys, don't turn this up that high. I'm not gonna set this at 74.
I didn't touch it.
But
I
74 would end up being, because this isn't accurate, it would end up being probably 80.
I do not touch thermostats.
Thank you, please. Yeah, we.
I do not.
Like 70 or 71 gets hot in here.
Yeah.
Too, so.
And he knows that I'm living, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, thank you.
He didn't think you were gonna be here at all, so it's extra, so.
Good. I like to be extra. Everybody does. Ooh.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Hey y'all, Terry's back. I'll go get him. Terry's back, guys.
Voicemail. Here, Seattle, super.
Okay, do we have everybody back? Seattle, are you good? Dallas, are we back in Dallas?
Sir, we're good.
Okay, Salt Lake, are you back?
Yeah, Gates is walking back.
We're gonna temperature gun, Ryland. Say. Where'd he go?
You're welcome.
I'll tell you what, guys, while we're waiting, one of these days, you ever get a chance to go to Dallas, you should see that Dallas office is sharp as hell. I ain't gonna lie. It is sharp. With the exception of a stove, they have a full-size kitchen in their damn place, man.
That's awesome.
Big too. That's a gorgeous office. That is a gorgeous office. Gorgeous.
Just outside of this. I don't know how.
So that's.
Hey, Cam, do we have everybody back in Salt Lake, buddy?
James is still, I think, around to the bathroom. Let me help check.
Ah, now I
Can you
can
hear me?
see everybody. Now I can see you.
James ran to the bathroom. I'll check to see if he's.
Jenkins had it set up so he was the only person I could see.
That's all that matters, baby. Everything else is fluff.
Hey, Mr. Jenkins, how old are you anyway, sir?
55.
55. Man, I got shoes that old.
I'll bet they still look good too, don't they?
Well, I don't know, but if you're talking to Cody, Cody would certainly sit there and say I could probably still fit in my shoes from 55 years ago, because it appears, you know, he made a comment the other day. I'm pretty sure he's the one that said it, and if he didn't, I'm going to lie then. That if we were to just put a little lanyard around me, he could hang me on his rear view mirror and drive me around.
Like driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, only different because she didn't have to be hung around a damn a mirror.
If you don't like the string idea, I can also just set you on my dash like a little bobblehead.
So all I gotta do is this.
Military.
Hey, only if he has a grass skirt on.
Dude, I am Hawaiian. Don't think I won't wear one for you now. Don't think I won't.
Yeah, I'd love to see a good lay on a man.
Make something like that and we could put to his.
You know what? I'll put that up, Miss Michelle. If you say that, I'll do something. We put a number together. If we put a number together and we get to a good number, hell, I'll wear a grass skirt and wash your damn car doing it too. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm weird like that. So I'm good at that. If that keeps me from being hung around Cody's rearview mirror, I'm good with it. You know?
That's the bobblehead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, they have custom bobblehead. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, so if we have everybody back, let us get into it. So let's get back to the inspection. So Matt, did that answer your question good enough, brother?
Yeah, that was my main question is like, we're not bringing up like the problems during the hot button questions or during the transition where we're saying, what do you want to change about your windows? Asking, we're not like offering solutions at that point saying, well, your aluminum windows now are causing this. We're saving all that until we get to the actual window and we're saying, okay, well, you've got aluminum, a single pane, this is causing this. We're saving that until the actual inspection part.
Right. So again, what we're going to do in the inspection is we're going to point out the challenges that they have. We're going to use the answers from the challenges that they know that they have. We're going to elaborate on what the repercussions of having that. Then when we get to our window, then we're going to offer the solution to the challenges that we found and how we overcome the problems that they have versus the way other companies are doing it for themselves. Okay. So really and truly selling, true blue selling really doesn't start until we get into step 5. Okay. But the first 4 steps are more of getting commitments that they do recognize they have problems, what these problems are, pointing these problems out. Now, keep in mind, here's one of the biggest mistakes that most reps will make. It's so prevalent. It's everywhere I've ever been. And it just shocks me that it's this way, but nonetheless, this is the reality of it. You're going to walk into a customer's house. They're immediately going to start telling you all the problems with their windows. You're going to sit there and tell them you're going to inspect. They're immediately going to tell you, oh, don't worry about it. I know my windows are bad. I know they are. That's the reason why you're here. You're going to assume that they know what it is that you know, because that's what they're telling you. And I can promise you right now, they don't know half of the problems that they think they have. They just don't. Picture it this way. It's like buying a brand new car. You know, most people, when they buy a brand new car, they park away from everybody. They try to make sure their doors don't, you know, their car doesn't get hit with other car doors, or, you know, a shopping cart out at Fry's or someplace, or Safeway doesn't hit their car and all this. The first time they get their first dent or scratch, they notice it right away. A year later, 9 months later, 2 years later, a buddy of theirs walks up and says, damn, man, what happened to your car here? Wow, that's weird. When did that show up? I wonder when I got that. Man, that sucks. After a while, you stop paying attention. Okay. Everybody on this telephone call does it. It is the way that it is. It's the same thing with these people. They believe because they live there that they know that they have what all the problems are with their windows, and they don't. Most people never think of security. Most people never think of dirt and dust and the challenges that come with it, other than the fact that it sucks to have to clean all this. But they're not thinking about how it ruins their carpet. They're not thinking about how it ruins their furniture. They're not thinking about their computers and their laptops and their TVs and their VCRs and their DVD players and their Xbox players. They're not thinking of any of that. Their PS5s and PS4s. They're not thinking of any of that because they don't relate it to that. We do, because this is what we do for a living. But the customer doesn't. So no matter what a customer says, you have to inspect, period. You have to inspect. Not only do you have to inspect, we inspect all windows. We inspect all doors. Not just what they think they're interested in. That is not something that they get to get away with, okay? In the past at Apex, we have most definitely let people get away with that. We will not do that anymore moving forward. We do not do that, okay? And your MSPs, they most certainly know that if that's what's going on, they will certainly address that with you for sure, okay? So how do we do it? Well, part of the way we're going to inspect all the windows is when we give the agenda and we tell them we're going to inspect all of your windows so I can get an idea of what I'm dealing with. You can even add, I know you know the challenges with your windows, but I don't. Therefore, I need to inspect all the windows, because what I see at 1 or 2 windows may not be something I can see over here, but the problem may be over here as well. I don't know. So I have to sit there and see everything so I get an idea of what's going on in your home here. At the same time, too, offering a free window inspection comes with the service that we provide. Okay. So these are the things that we want to say. Now, a little at a time, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be buying thermal imagery guns. There will come a time here in a very, very short near future here. I want everybody to have thermal imagery guns in their possession and to be used when we get out to that house. Not that stupid FLIR crap that you plug in the bottom of your damn phone that only works for about 4.5 freaking minutes. We're going to get actual temp guns or thermal imagery guns, cameras, if you will. Okay. We are going to go ahead and get that. So when we're out there inspecting, at the same time, too, we will do a thermal imagery evaluation of their home. Part of the reason we're going to do that is so they have a better understanding the challenges of the heating and cooling lost or gained. But at the same time, too, it's something that other companies do not do. So if you think about this, if Renewal by Andersen comes to somebody's house and pitches the way they pitch, and Pella comes out and pitches the way they pitch, which is very similar to Renewal by Andersen, DeBella comes out and pitches the way those two pitches, and they're all very similar. and we come out there and we pitch the same way more or less that they do, and it's very similar. What is the motivating factor for somebody to do business with you other than money? There is no motivating factor. It comes down to money. So part of what we have to do is to make sure what we're doing is above and beyond what our competitor does. By doing this also gives us a different kind of an argument or a different kind of a statement that we can make when we get down into the close, okay? Whether you sold windows for RBA, whether you sold them for Pella, whether you sold them for Apex, whether you sold them from, Don Juan windows out of the back of a van, you presented prices to people, and at some point in time, a customer has told you, oh my gosh, that's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. Why so much? Why so much? It's funny you should ask that, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Here's what the average rep will do. If you're at Renewal by Andersen, well, the reason why you're paying so much is because we have a proprietary product that nobody in the world has. We've been around for 125 years, okay? We're going to be around. We're the innovator. We have over 100 patents that we've sat there and had in the window and door industry. That's what Renewal by Andersen is going to say, because that's what they've been taught to say. Tell me I'm wrong, Mr. Jenkins.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Pella's going to say the same thing. Well, what I would sit there and say is an amateur teacher would sit there and have their people do that. An amateur will. However, seeing how we're going to be professional window people, the better answer to that is this. Part of the reason why you're paying as much as you're going to pay with us, folks, part of that reason is standing in front of you. That's why. Because we spend a tremendous amount of money making sure that we know the ins and the outs of windows. I go through a training class for 6 weeks, 5 weeks, listening to some idiot sit there and teach me about windows and everything there is to know. And then we meet once and twice a week to continue to make sure that any changes in the industry that we are familiar with. You've had window people come out and you've had a window guy come out. But what you haven't had is you haven't had the window man or the window lady come out here until I got here. Our company spends a lot of money to make sure that we know, so we can come out here and teach you all that you need to know so you can make the best decision for yourself. You're paying for that type of expertise, which is the reason why our company believes that it is the realization of energy efficiency through education is the better way to sit there and come out here and treat you folks and talk to you folks. At the same time, too, we don't take shortcuts in our product. We spend a tremendous amount of money to make sure that we're doing things that other companies are not doing. And we don't use the excuse of price for a particular product to shortcut that product like our friends out at Renewal by Andersen does, like our friends out at Pella do, like our friends out at Provia does, or wherever place it is, because they're using block and tackle pulley systems and we're not. Because they're using slope seals, and they try to tell you that slope seals is cool so the water flows away from the house. What a load of bull crap. You don't have slope seals now, and I don't see any water rolling into your house right now. So what we do is we add that more frame to it to do this and to do this to prevent this. That's how you explain price. You defend price by not beating on your chest. You defend price based on what it is, that the amount of money we pay to make our product better and to educate the people that are going to come out here to talk to you, so you don't have to shop around, so you don't have to do the research, because you have no idea, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, what to research for. You have no idea. You just think you do. But half of what I brought up, you never would have thought of, and you know it. That is why they pay the kind of money that they do. And if I was at Renewal by Andersen, that's what I would be sitting there telling these people. Not pounding my chest as to how great I am and how good the window is and what you get is me and all this other bullshit that people used to sit there and teach. That is not the better way to go. The better way to go is to talk about the amount of education that they're paying for to make sure they have these correct things, to make sure that we're inspecting properly. Folks, the average company is going to come out here, measure your windows, show you a window sample and say, do you want them or not? Well, what the hell is that? If you don't know what you're looking for and the so-called professionals coming out here not pointing it out to you, then what good are they to you other than to sit there and throw a price at you? Okay. People think they want a cheap price. That's what they think because they don't know any better. But when we're done with them, we're going to be able to sit there and have an intelligent conversation and let them know that, hey, look, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, there is nothing in this world somebody can't make for cheaper and sell for less. But he who buys based on price alone is this person's lawful prey. And you have a choice of being prey or not. That's a choice you have. I would like to sit there and think you want to be the eater and not the eaten. And that's the way this works here. This is what you're paying for. You're paying for all this that we're doing. So to go out there with a thermal imagery camera, I've been doing this, guys, for 37 years. I have never seen a company that goes out to a house with a thermal imagery camera every single time. I've never seen it. In all of my years, I've never seen it. And here at Apex, even though we say we do, you guys have never seen it because that's not what's happening every single day. And if it's not happening every single day, then it might as well not be happening. Then you might as well not do it. We're going to do the extra things because it's harder. But the hard is what makes it better. And it starts in our inspection for sure. The reason we ask the hot button question is so that these people understand that we do care. We do want to know what challenges that they have. We want that. So as we can then sit there and point that out along with other things that they didn't know that they were, the other challenges they have. Okay. That's how you sell. That's selling. Pitching based on price, that's called begging. And we will not be beggars because every one of you on this phone call is better than that. You guys are better than that. And I know it. And your MSPs know it, or you wouldn't be sitting in the chairs that you're sitting in now. Because for all you MSPs that are here, or seniors that are here now, I have talked to every MSP about every one of you. You're still here because we do believe in you, not due to lack of options. Because we believe that you are the expert and you will be better. That's the way this works. Okay. That's the way this works. Because if Cam sat there and told me that Mr. Jenkins over there, I think he'll be all right. Mr. Jenkins and his former RBA selling self would not be in that chair because I do not have a problem sitting there saying that's not who we want then. Let's get out of here. But you all are where you're at because we all believe in you. Now we're going to teach you and then go out and be the animals and the beasts and the rock stars that I know you can be. The question on the table is, will you put the time and the effort in to be that? Or will you just go through the motions? That's when we'll find out what you're actually made of then. But I believe you to all be rock stars, which is why you're in the chair that you're in. You are not there due to lack of options, folks. I can assure you of that. You are not. So that being said, when we start getting into this inspection, this is the reason why we got to be the way that we are, because other companies don't do it. You know, again, I'm going to keep using the RBA guy because RBA sells more windows than anybody. But I would sit there and ask Mr. Jenkins, inspecting and doing all of this, even renewal doesn't teach that way. Or am I wrong?
Well, in Salt Lake we did, because in Salt Lake the inspection was where we did what you did. We tried to create urgency. So, but there were some guys at renewal that didn't believe in the inspection, and I was a firm believer in the inspection. I would, if a homeowner said they didn't, hey, we know we got bad windows, we don't need to walk around, I'd say, hey, I really need you to walk around because I don't know what you have and what you don't have. And if you already know it, then I need you to point out to me what's wrong with your windows. And I'll show you some things that I'm seeing also. It was always to create, you had to create a need.
Correct.
And maybe I took that than a lot of people there because there was a lot of guys that didn't do an inspection. So, but I did an inspection every time, no matter what.
You know, and again, on this inspection, what's important here and the key thing to sit there and jump on in what Mr. Jenkins just said too, you have to take the customers with you, not just inspect on your own. You got to take the customers with you. It doesn't do you any good to come back and talk about it. We need them to actually see it when you're pointing it out. You got to take them with you. You got to take them with you. Okay. Again, sliding on sliders, on aluminum sliding windows, especially, as long as the window's not real big for some of you, slide that window open and pull it out. Pull the slider out. It's easy for it to come out. Pull it out. This will give you a better look on the back end. I can promise you nobody did that. No window company that came out there to inspect their windows pull the slider out that way. Pull it out. So it takes you an extra couple minutes. So what? You're there. You have all the decision makers present, and you have a willing and waiting audience. Then give them the best show you've got. Give them the best you have. They deserve it, as do you, is to give yourself the best opportunity. When we get these FLIR or these thermal imagery cameras in, get these puppies out and show these people. Don't let them sit there and say, oh, I know. Folks, I got to sit there and do this. I'd be doing you a disservice, and I'd be doing me one as well as our company. Our company requires us to give a free window inspection and the thermal imagery evaluation of the home. And we take pictures of all this because this is a service we provide. And this is what we promised you when this meeting was set.
I have a question about that, actually.
Yes.
Like, how do you speak to that with the thermal imagery specifically? When the temperature is super moderate and the interior and exterior temperature are really close, it can work against us.
Well, no, it
Make the windows
actually
look like they're operating better. How do you speak around that?
So number one, when we do a thermal imagery evaluation of stuff, you know, depending on weather, things like that, you want to do it from the inside as well as the outside too. Now, keep in mind, when we're doing this stuff, we're going to sit there and have to tell a customer, hey, look, just so you know, this is not 100%, but it'll certainly give you a better idea. Okay. When the inside temperature and the outside temperature is about the same, you know, 77 outside, 73 degrees inside, stuff like that. We're clearly not going to see a big difference here, folks. You got to know that. Okay. However, let's kind of take a peek at this and see if there's something that we can actually see, even with these moderate temperatures being close to the same. Okay. No thermal imagery evaluation is going to be 100% on the money unless there's an extreme difference. Like right now in Portland or Seattle, oh, there's a big ass difference now. You know, Seattle is 45, 46 degrees outside. People are keeping their houses inside at 72, 73, 74 degrees. Oh, we damn sure enough going to be able to sit there and see a difference there. You know, right now here in Phoenix, it's a little tougher time. You know, we're running 65 to 71 degree temperatures, and people are keeping their houses about 65 to 71 degrees. But in the summertime, when it's 118 degrees out there and 72 degrees on the inside, big difference. So we just want to make sure that we set it up so we don't make it look like that we have egg on our face, and let them know, hey, look, folks, pretty even on temperature here. So here's what we may see, but let's at least take a peek at it and see if something happens to stand out that we can see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, lead with the obvious, you know, paint the picture.
Yeah, address the challenge before it comes up. That's the easiest thing to do, is address the challenge before it comes up. Okay. So we're going to do that in several places. You know, we're getting ready to get into the company part of the presentation. And when we get into the company part of the presentation, we're going to let people know that we have a 4.8 Google rating, you know, pretty much across the country. And we have an A+ rating in most locations. However, folks, you're also going to sit there and see, you know, a bunch of negative reviews in there as well. Keep in mind, what you're looking at is over the course of 2 or 3 or 4 years or whatever it may be, you know, you're going to just see that. But it's going to be about this or this or this or this. Get out in front of it so it's not a surprise when somebody's looking at it. You have to understand, we all have to understand, which is funny because I hate being told that I have to understand something. I hate that. You know, I can't stand that. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. But if you think about this for a second, the person that we're going to go see in the meeting we're getting ready to have, these folks have either sat there and researched us before we came out, or if we sign a contract with them, they're damn sure enough going to research us after we leave, because they got 3 days to cancel this. Okay. So you might as well sit there and address it because it's there in black and white. So you damn near would better address it. But if you do, and they say, okay, well, they said he said that, she said that, I see it. Okay, they didn't try to hide anything. So you have to get out in front of it. So that's the case of the thermal imagery as well. Just get out in front of it a little bit when you have those moderate temperatures are the same both inside and out. Just get out in front of it a little bit. That's all.
Thanks.
Okay. You're welcome. Anything else before we move forward? Okay. So when it comes to the inspection, do we have any questions whatsoever about the inspection? Anything at all? Very important is this step. So any questions at all? No question is a bad one.
You always go the same order, clockwise around the house, bottom to top when you're inspecting as well as measuring, or is it less critical when you're inspecting?
I'm a creature of habit, right? So when I'm explaining to the customer how we map, that's exactly where I start when I inspect and when I measure.
Okay. And then do you take your talking pad around with you when you're doing the inspection and make like notes of all the issues on the windows, or are you just like remembering it?
No, I take my talking pad with me.
Okay.
Okay. I take my talking pad with me so as I can write these things down. And I literally put on there line 101. We saw this, this, and this. You're going to see that when you're doing that, you're not going to find a problem with every single solitary window. Okay. The trick to your inspecting is we don't want to make it goofy either. Your average time to inspect should average out to about a minute to a minute and a half per window. Keeping in mind that minute to a minute and a half also includes walking from one room to a next, opening up curtains, raising blinds, opening up shutters, moving a couch out of the way so you can get back behind it. All of that includes that. I'm not saying spend a minute and a half per window. A minute and a half is a long freaking time. It really is. A minute and a half is a long time. Again, if you don't believe me, hold your breath for a minute and a half and let's see how that works out for you. Okay. A minute and a half is a long time. So what we're not wanting to do is drag all this out, but we do want to make sure that we're going through the things that we need to go through. And then make sure that we do the two things that we need to do, right? Let them know it's not their fault. And more importantly, also to make sure we ask that question. Let me ask you something, folks, and play it. Look, this is the one thing I will say about Michael Foyt. When Michael Foyt invented this company, so the rumor goes, being a former actor as he was, that we have to put on a show. I agree with that part for sure, 100%. I may not agree with the latte thing, but I certainly agree with the put on a show. Okay. So when you're standing in front of this window, for me, when I ask the plant seed question, if you will, I'll literally stand there and do one of these. You know what, Mr. Blaylock, let me ask you a question. You think if we were to put windows in your house someday, and I know it's not today, man, just someday, but you think if we were to do that, sir, you think we can get more work in the neighborhood? What do you think? What do you think? And let's get this guy to say something. Let's see if we can get them to say, yeah, because of this or this or this. But if they say no, then lead them on. Okay, well, you're not sure. Well, I have to assume that the same builder, for the most part, built every house, right? You can't be the only person having problems with their windows. I mean, is your luck actually that bad, sir? I mean, you can't be the only one, is it? No. Okay, well, and what we do know is business breeds business. So you do think we can get more work in the neighborhood, right? Appreciate that, sir. And then let it go. Let it go after that. We just want to plant that there, okay? Because one of the things that we're telling everybody, right, is that we're using their house as a promotional home. So we're going to want to sit there and plant that there and then bring it back up again when we get down into the close, that the importance of us sitting here having this partnership with each other is so as we can continue to grow our company, which should be very important to you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Because if you don't grow, then you can't be here. And if we can't be here or any other company, who's going to warranty your crap? So this is your company too. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to invest in you to help us not only grow our company, but to continue to be here to service you. Okay. We talk about partnering with customers then we have to make it sound like a true blue partnership, that they have a say-so in what goes on, which is why we do some of the things that we do. And we're getting ready to get into that here in step number 4 when we do the company. Okay. So that's what we're making sure when we're inspecting is we got to make sure we get that part in for sure. And then get to these closing questions that we have to sit there and ask and make sure that they're answering. The nodding of a head yes is not a commitment. That's an agreement. We don't need agreements. We need commitments. If Cameron here were to sit there and ask me, can you see where the windows are costing you money on a daily basis? If my answer is, wow, Cameron, you know what, man, you've done a hell of a job for sure. I could see why you would say that. That is not a commitment. That's an agreement. You got to get a yes answer out of that guy. So if Cameron were to tell me the same thing and he would have said there, man, I can see what I'm sorry, what was that then? Lean in a little bit and sit there. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Oh, no, yes. Okay, cool. If not, re-ask the question a different way and get a yes. But you have to get a yes. We have to be able to use that answer against them. We have to. And if you don't get a yes, you're going to run into a challenge here. Okay? So we got to get yeses, not agreements, not nodding of the heads, not of, whoa, Michelle, you are the king ding-a-ling of window people. That's very flattering, but that's not a yes. And we need a yes. Okay. Any questions?
I've got one, Terry.
Talk to me, Shadow.
So like before, when we would just do the measure, you know, a lot of people would start talking about design options, changes, things that they would want to do. But now that we're splitting up the inspection and the measure, if in the inspection portion, the homeowners are starting to talk about like different design options, things like that, are we like wanting to hold that off until later on, or do we want to address that kind of in that inspection moment, or where to kind of go from there?
You kind of want to do a combination of both, but give up very little. Okay. So if I was measuring with you and you were sitting there telling me, you know what, this is a 2 dual units, a mulb unit. I'd like to make this one big picture window, and I'd like it to have, yellow hearts and green lightning bolts. Can we do that? Hey, you know what, sir? That is certainly something we can both look into for sure. Let me go ahead and do this. Once we're done inspecting, and I tell you a little bit about the company, when we start getting into all the window options from there, at that point, once I have all of this, not only will I make my suggestions, what I think may or may not be best for us, but at the same time too, we'll catch those ideas and see what we can't put together to try to make this cost effective as we can. But we can certainly address that for sure. Is that good enough answer for you too right now, sir? Or ma'am? That's how you want to put that. Is that a good enough answer for you for right now, folks? Just for right now. 99.9% of the time, they'll sit there and tell you yes. 99.9, they will. Okay. And you've heard me use that statement a lot already in these last couple of days to say something and say, is that a good enough answer for you for right now? Can you accept that for an answer just for now? So that's what I would sit there. Is that B back there? Am I looking at Bryant?
Yeah. You
How's it going,
are.
brother?
What is going on, Bryant?
Oh,
Good. Bryant, for those of you who do not know, Bryant is our canvas manager for the Portland location. And I'm expecting big things from Mr. Bryant out there. And at the same time, too, the biggest reason it's not the only reason, but the biggest reason he got the job is because he swore in a stack of Bibles and a pile of rosary beads that every time I come out there to Portland, he's going to have a pony keg and a bottle of Carvassier for me when I get there. So, all right. So moving on. Once we get our commitment, our closing question rather, once we get our closing question answered, that puts us into our CPA. Okay. So at this point, we should be back at the dining room table by now. We get back to the dining room table. We very simply ask, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, let me ask you a question. When you do a project like this, what exactly are you looking for in a company? That is the question we want to ask in our CPA. That should be right after the closing question. I got it in blue or in black, bold black. CPA, company product and affordability. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, let me ask you a question. When you do a project like this, what exactly are you looking for in a company? You handle this the same way you handle the hot button question. Immediately pick somebody out, get an answer, verify, get another answer, verify, and go back and forth. Now, this isn't always as easy as we're going to make it sound here in class, okay? The asking of the question is the easy part. Typically, most answers that you get, they're going to fire straight company stuff at you. The two harder things to get answers from is going to be product and the affordability part, okay? A lot of times a customer may sit there and say, well, you know what, I'm looking for a company with a good warranty. Okay, good warranty doesn't, I would not sit there and say describes company. So when somebody tells me I'm looking for a company with good warranty, I usually will tell them, okay, good warranty. Okay, that's not really a company as it would be product, and then write it down. So what you're saying though is you want a product that has a good warranty. Is that correct? They're going to say yes. And the funny thing is because you started this list of product, what you're going to usually start getting is product things. Yeah, I want it to be energy efficient. Yeah, I want it to cut back on the dirt. I want it to look nice. All of a sudden, you're going to get those answers. Okay. So you may have to move an answer around from one thing to another to get that list started. The moment you get a list started, they'll usually sit there and follow that list. But if they don't, let's just say hypothetically they don't. They say good warranty, and then they say, well, I'm looking for somebody that's going to, no subcontractors or somebody that's local. Okay, so what you're saying though then is you're looking for a company that's local. Okay. Would you agree? Do you agree? What are you looking for? Now you got two lists going, and no matter which side they stay on, you can now move them to the other side fairly easy because we've already started the list. So if they start rattling off things for companies, is there anything else? No, that's about it. Okay, well, you also sat there and said you wanted a good warranty in a product. So what else are you looking for in your product? And then we can go down that road. All right. The hardest part is going to be affordability. Most people are not going to give you the answer for affordability. So we're going to have to get that out of them. How you choose to do it is up to you. What I've always found for me that is very effective for me is I kind of make a little joke about it. When they sit there and say that's it, then I'll tell them, okay, folks, well, let me ask you this. I noticed when I was walking up to the house and as I was inspecting your windows, I didn't see a money tree in your backyard or in the front of the house. Does money not matter, or does it? I mean, do you not care what stuff costs? Oh, they're going to say something right away. No. We certainly need, we don't want the cheapest, or we don't want the most expensive, or, well, man, I don't want, look, I drive a Toyota, not a Maserati, man. So I don't want something that's expensive. Okay. So something that's, you want something that's affordable, that's not expensive. And I'm sure something that's not going to put you in the window poorhouse, or you want the most bang for your buck, I'm assuming, is that correct? Yeah, that's what I want. Then write it down. No window poorhouse, and then bang for buck. I'll just put initials there, bang for the buck. So let me see if I get this correct then, folks. What you're saying is you're looking for a product with a good warranty, that's energy efficient, that's going to look good and be more secure, but at the same time, it's put out by a company that's going to be local. They're licensed, bonded, and insured. They're going to do what they say they're going to do, and they're going to give you good communication. And at the same time, all of that's going to come in at an affordable price, something that's not expensive, that's not going to put you in the window poorhouse, and at the same time, making sure you get the most bang for your buck. Is that what you're saying? Yes. So would it be safe to assume then that once you find all this in a company, your shopping would then be over? Is that a safe assumption to make? And let's see what they say here. 92, 93, 94% of the time, they're either going to say yes, or they're going to say, I don't know, because you're the first company that I've talked to. I told you that earlier. I get you, folks. So let's put it in a different way. Regardless of who you go with, if they don't have all these bullet points, in other words, they're not local and they don't look good, you're still not going to do business with them, are you? You will get no 100% of the time. 100% they'll say, no, I'm not. So again, regardless of who you go with, once you find all this in the company, your shopping is then over, right? You'll get an answer of yes every single solitary time. I have never gotten to know if I had to go down that road, ever. I have never gotten one before. I have no idea what that's like. And I don't expect that you guys are going to start that trend. So that's what we want to make sure that we're doing. We do the CPA before the company because we need them to tell us what are their hot buttons for the company. So we can make sure that we address that when we do our company portion of the presentation. Okay. We got to make sure that we're covering that because that's what's important. When we're done doing the company, let's just say that they wanted local, no subs, make sure everybody speaks English, speaking the English, licensed, bonded, and insured. When we're done doing the company, then what we're going to ask them is, okay, so I talked to you about being local, so you know we're local, so I got that covered for you. As you know, we do our own installs. All of our guys speak the English, and we are licensed, bonded, and insured. Each step we go through from the CPA, we are going to cross out one line only, cross out, so they can see that we covered what they were saying. Okay? This way they know that we addressed what they were wanting. Again, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. This shows them that they care, that we care rather, by covering that, by making sure of that. All right. If we can't cross everything off, that means we missed something. We had better cover that. So I see some people scratching heads. We can back up and do things. Is there any, and that's not at you in particular, Alex. I'm just saying that I can see some look on some people here. So that being said, I've just thought of that when I saw you do this. So is everybody good with me so far? Is this, how confusing is this for some of you?
I think it's pretty clear, but like, the affordability that you'll often have to pull out of them, is there a certain place you're trying to get them to go since you tend to be needing it every time that it's been covered? Are you trying to get them to say, you know, not the cheapest, not the most expensive? Are you trying to put them in a value bucket? Is there any agenda there, or just what you're pulling out of them organically?
What if they say they don't mind being the most expensive, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
Say that again now.
What if, okay, so like my dad is a perfect example. He's kind of old school. He wants to buy the best, but in his mind, the best equals the most expensive. And I can't get him off of that mindset, which isn't the case. But what if you ask about the affordability and he says, yeah, well, I really don't care what it costs. You know, if it's what I want, I'll pay, even if it's the most expensive.
And that's okay too. That answer is okay. So if I were to sit there and say, okay, so I didn't see a money tree when I walked up and I didn't see one when I was inspecting, does money not matter to you, sir, or you just don't give a hoot? I mean, you tell me, sir.
No, honestly, the money tree's in the basement, hidden from the neighbors. I don't give a shit about the money.
Okay, that's awesome. So one thing I can tell you up front, this is going to cost less than your house. Maybe barely, but seeing how the money doesn't matter, then we're good to go. And I'll just keep moving forward with that. This way, when my man says that he needs to think about it, when he starts saying, well, I need to think about it, you know, well, whoa, wait a minute, Haas. Earlier, you sat there and told me you didn't give a monkey shit about it because you had a money tree. So let's get down in that basement and I'll help you. Let's get some money out of here, man. You didn't care. You didn't care. Come on now, don't be that way. Because I didn't, Mr. Blaylock, when you said that earlier, I thought that was a little funny because most people don't say that. But at the same time, funny or not, sir, I didn't get the impression, sir, that you would be the type of person who would sit there and pull on the window man's leg and lie, right? You're not that kind of guy, or am I wrong? I don't think you are, but you tell me.
No, not at all.
Good. Then get your ass out there and let's get this money out then. So I can hold him to that answer later. I can hold him to that answer later if that's what they want to say. I would strongly suggest that that customer doesn't say that to me. I can promise you that, because I am going to remember that when we get into the close. And when they start trying to wiggle around, oh, we're going to put the wiggling away right away. No. You said money tree. Come on, let's go. I'll help. Let's go. I didn't think you were the type of person that lied, sir. Or I mean, am I wrong? Because I don't get the impression you would be that kind of guy, would you? And here's the thing. By the time I get down to the close doing all this, I have the right to say that. And I have the right to ask that question. Because while I was there, that customer wants us and expects us and demands from us, to be honest with you, that we tell the truth as well. Knife cuts in both directions, ladies and gentlemen. The knife cuts in both directions. This is not one of these things the customer is always right. That's bull crap. It's not the way it works. We have the same we should expect the same thing from them that they expect from us. No more, no less. Same expectations. So we'll hold them to that later. So when we do the CPA, this is what we want to do. Ask the closing question. Would your shopping then be over? Yes, we get all that we need to get. Well, speaking of company, let's go ahead and cover that right now. How familiar are you with Apex Energy Solutions? And then we want to sit there and give them who we are. Now, here's the tricky part you have to be careful with in the company part. We're not selling here. All we're trying to do is give them a rundown as to who we are. Stay away from things like, what we do that other companies don't do. What we do that other companies don't do. Unlike other companies, we do this and we do that. You want to stay away from those type of comments, because when you get down into the close and ask that closing question after the company presentation, that's going to immediately start wanting to, well, I do not know. You're the first person I've talked to. You're telling me that they don't do this. We don't want to get into that conversation yet, like at all, because then we won't have a choice but to start pounding chest now. Okay. So I'm going to throw a tiny curveball at you because this will happen. Again, sometimes we have to give up a little to get a little. Okay. You don't have to, step 4 does not have to be your company. Step 4 can be product. You can go into the product first. We gauge that based on how pushy the customer is starting to be. We start to see that they really want to get into the product now. Then get into the product. That's okay. Get into it. But then after you do the product, you've got to get back into the company now. When we get into the company, then our closing question will change. Okay. The closing question is going to change. So in the company, our closing question right now is, does Apex Energy Solutions sound like the kind of company you would entrust your home to? If we pitch the window first and then have to do the company afterwards, company and everything is the same, just I would change my closing question to, based on everything you've seen now, when you eventually get around to doing your windows and doors, is Apex Energy Solution the company you would choose over all others now? Then I would ask that. But you can't ask that kind of a question if we haven't shown the window yet. You can't do that. So you can go from step 3 into 5 and then come back to 4. Those two are interchangeable. You can do that if you need to, for sure. If that's the direction you feel like you need to go based on the temperature of the people and when you're out there, then go into it. You're okay. The difference is you make sure you do your CPA still. You still got to do CPA. But from there, well, speaking of product, let's get into that for a minute. Then we'll get into the product and make sure that we use those answers that they gave us. And then when we're done pitching the product, we're going to cross all that stuff off. So it doesn't matter which way you go. You may have to feel for this when you're in a house. Does that make sense? Did I lose anybody on that?
That makes sense to me. Do you think that ideally though, you're wanting to stick with doing the CPA and the company first so that you can get their hotlines for the product in order to cater that portion more to their cares?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I want to keep things in order because the more I do it in order, the easier it is for me to memorize and easier for me to do. But again, if we have to sit there and pivot or be a little nimble in what we do, that's fine. But if you're going to pitch product first, you still have to get the CPA out of the way first. CPA must come before you do company or pitch product because we need their answers to make that portion of our presentation to be more effective. Okay. If we don't get that, then all we're going to be doing is stabbing. You know, our window is this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And we may not cover what's important to them. We may not. We may not cover what's important to them. Everybody here who has sold windows has sold windows for various reasons. I've sold windows just because they liked our damn screen. They didn't care about anything else. So they paid $2,600 a window for freaking screens. I've sold windows just because of noise. And the only thing they cared about was noise. Had I not known that, I would have very little bit touched on noise and kept talking about everything else. But they told me noise. So I made noise a big thing. You know what, sir? I don't know if it's like this for you. Now, obviously, I'm playing stupid, but I knew the dude lived down the school from Riverside High School, and I knew it. So when he brought up noise, you know, sir, one of the great things about our window is how it reduces noise. Now, it can't eliminate all of it, but it does reduce noise. I don't know about you, but where I live, sir, is in the central part of El Paso. I live right by Austin High School. And every morning during football season, I can sit there and hear the damn plane. I hear the same thing. I don't know if you like that, but I can't stand it. Oh yeah, man, I fucking hate it, bro. I can't stand that. This sucks, dude. I knew that was one of his hot buttons, so I jumped on that and I just used it that way. Okay. Swear to God, that's exactly what I did too. Swear to God. So I'll try and sound like a trumpet. I don't know if you like that, sir, but I hate it. And he went off on that. That's what I wanted him to do. Okay, so we have no reason, we have no idea what causes somebody's boat to float, you know, to bubble to float. We have no idea. So we ask, what floats your bubble, boss? So we've got to get CPA in no matter whether we're going to pitch product first or company first. You got to get it so we can jump on their hot buttons and make sure that we address what's important to them. If security is one of their things, make it a big deal. If being local is one of those things, make it a big deal. You know, earlier you sat there and said local, sir. We are a local company. I get it. One of the biggest frustrations I have is doing business with somebody and you got to talk to some clown, you know, on the other side of the United States, and it never fails. They're always 3 hours ahead of me. And by the time I'm able to make that phone call because I'm at work, these damn guys are already closed. It sucks. I hate that. I don't know how you feel about it, but I can't stand that. Well, we already know they don't like it. They told us. So make a deal about it when you're explaining it. Make it a thing. Okay. Do you have to make it a thing on every single thing so you look transparent that that's what you're starting to do? No. But we can make a thing about certain ones. Licensed, bonded, insured. Sir, that's a big thing. And I'm glad you sat there and said that. You know, the average customer doesn't. One of the challenges with licensed, bonded, insured, did you know that a company that's not licensed, bonded, insured, if they come out here and put windows on your house and they were to fall off a ladder, it is your homeowner's insurance that they attack. And that's the way it works. So that's good that you sat there and said that, because with us, we're this, and this. So we're going to cover that because they brought it up once we get into the company. Hey, earlier you said this, what we talked about. We are indeed licensed, bonded, and insured. So there's $1 million worth of insurance at your disposal. If we were to come out here and knock half your house down, the insurance money is there to make sure that we take care of it. Because again, we want to make sure we watch out for your home the same way we would watch out for ours. So this is what we do.
That was so perfect.
Okay. So That's what we want to go ahead and do. Okay. There's so many things. I don't know what to sit there and say here. There's so many things that by doing all these little things that we do, that there's so much stuff you can come back with because we got certain commitments from them, because we said the things that we said, I mean, most people too. I'll jump off point here for a quick second. You get these people that'll sit there and say, well, I don't know, I got to think about this. I had these companies come out, I had this company come in, I don't know. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, let me ask you a question. Okay. Or better yet, let me just say this. Look, at Apex, we had the same choices that other companies had when it came to manufacturing their window. We have the same exact choices. At Apex, we did things a little bit different. What we did is we got into parts of the window and doing things on the stuff that we know that you would never know anything about. For example, vinyl. Renewal by Andersen and Pella, they're great about telling you how bad vinyl is. But here's what they don't tell you about it. What they don't tell you is that the vinyl frame only makes up 65% or 35% of the window. The other 65% of the window is its glass package. And we have a better glass package than they do. We made sure of it because we had the same choice they made, and we chose to go a better route. What they're not telling you too is that the 35% they're trying to make you afraid of is that our vinyl comes in at a thicker gauge vinyl, because we know that you, the customer, do not know that, and we know it. So we did that research for you, and we put in a better at a thicker gauge vinyl, so we could give you a warranty that covers warping when most window companies don't. We had a choice with closers, and we chose to use the best closer. We had a choice of this and this, and we give them all the choices that we have. We made these choices for you because we knew you wouldn't know any better, and we knew that. So the question I have on the table here is why you're thinking of who you should go with. And the question I would ask you is this. Every company had the same choice that we had, and they chose to build an inferior window. That's a choice they made. The question I have for you is, why would we consider dealing with a company that chose to not watch out for you as we chose to watch out for you? In a way I can understand, how would that even make sense that we would consider dealing with a company that chose to build you an inferior product? That's the question I would ask, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Now, how do you feel about that? That's an extremely powerful conversation to have. It's extremely powerful. And you will get a lot of people that'll sit there and think about that and go, you know what? I never thought of that. Well, of course you didn't. That's why I'm here to tell you this shit. Of course you didn't. That's why the window man is here. That's why the window lady is here, or the window woman is here, or whatever cool name you want to put on that. I refer to myself in the house as the window man. That's a fact. And I believe Shadow can probably verify that when I was out there. So Windows says, baby, I am the window man, sir. So talk to me. What do you need to know? So that's what's great about if we pitch the way we do, and we give them all the things that we need to give them. That choice thing in the back end, a lot of people will sit there and tell you, I never thought of that. You're right. I never thought of that. You know what? We should just go ahead and do it. What the hell does Dave Moore want? So again, I got off kilt a little bit. So keeping in mind though, steps 4 and steps 5 can be interchanged if you want them to be. Do you have to change the closing question if you do that? Not really, but it's what I would do though. Okay, it's what I would do. So some things to talk about. Look, Mr. Jenkins, let me see who's new to this too. Tanner, Diana, Tall Matt. You know what, my man? I apologize. For the life of me, I can't remember your name in the back end, brother. I am so sorry.
Jimmy.
Out in Dallas.
Jimmy.
You know what? Sorry about that, Jimmy. I should remember that because of Double J out there in Portland. I won't forget you again, Jimmy. I won't forget you again. So you guys there that are basically new to the company or new to this position, talk to a Matt or a Mark Blessier, talk to Cody, talk to Jimmy, Double J out there in Portland, or Michelle, or somebody, or Shadow or Nicole, Leah and Kate, and see what they like to say in their company story. Okay. Our company story doesn't have to be engraved in granite and doesn't have to be the same exact story that we all tell. But I would sit there and I put bullet points out for everybody as to the things I would make sure to cover. And I would try to put some word track in that I thought that I would sit there and say to try to make it maybe a little stronger, So as we go through these things, it's important that people know that we started in 1998. It's important to know that we've been in business for almost 26 years now. That we have 25 locations and we currently are growing, that Apex is a full service company. What does full service mean? Well, we research and develop all our own products. At the same time, we market our own windows. We sell and install all of our own windows. Well, we service and warrant all of our own windows. We factory train all of our people. We ship all of our own product. We depend on companies for the raw material to make our product. But we are it. We are a one-stop shop company. That is who we are. Unlike others, and this is not what we tell customers, but unlike others out here, guys, we don't get to place blame. Okay. When I first took over this position as the regional vice president, I had people sit there and say, well, that's not our fault. Allside made it. Well, wait a minute, hold on. It damn sure enough is our fault. They bought the damn things from us and they signed a contract that said Apex on it. So it is our fault. We are a one-stop shop company. We don't get to blame anybody, folks. If it's a faulty, it's a manufacturer's problem, that's because we messed up. If it's an installation problem, that's because we messed up. This is not Lowe's. We don't get to blame the subcontractor. We don't get to blame the factory. These things are the things that we want to say because this is what makes people feel comfortable. That they can call one company up and bitch up a storm, and we're not going to push blame off somewhere else. So when we're explaining company, that's what we want to make sure that we do. Okay. Again, we're licensed, bonded, and insured. I didn't put it in, but what I would add is what you heard me say earlier. Folks, one of the great things too about us is we believe that we should treat your home the same way we expect our home to be treated. Therefore, we make sure that we're licensed, bonded, and insured. We make sure of that. Because if the work was being done on our house, this is exactly what we would want. Why should we want any less for you than what we want for ourselves? And this is a definition of a full service company. Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
With the license and bonded thing too, I've had some pushback too, and some of the newer people might want to hear you kind of talk around companies who usually they've already had quotes and they come in screaming about all your employees all W2.
Say that again.
Are your installers all W2?
You know what? You know what, Miss Michelle? That's a wonderful question. And the reason why I'm saying that, Miss Michelle, and you're the customer right now. I told you earlier we do all of our own installs and all, because we do. The subs that we do, and we do use subs, so let me explain how this works in a minute. Because of the amount of work and everything that we do, they only work for us. They're installing for us. The reason why we do it that way is because they're the ones that hold the installation and construction license. Okay. So because of that, we go that route to be able to do it. Not to mention the reason why we're able to do it is we keep our prices down, because having everybody as W-2 employees, the more employees we have, then the more insurance and things like that we're required to carry. And the more of that we have to carry, and the more payroll taxes and things like that there are, means somebody has to pay for that, which always ends up being the customer. So to keep our costs down and ensure that at the same time you're taken care of, we go this route. Does that make sense to you, Miss Michelle?
Yeah.
That's what I would say to a customer just like that. Because that is the true reason why we do it the way we do it. We do it so we don't have to. Remember, the more employees you have, the bigger you get, then you have to provide insurance. Things like payroll taxes, things like insurances, workman's comp, all that shit comes into play. So we do it this way because we have companies that strictly work for us. When they come out, they will be branded with us because that's what it is. But in this case here, they carry the license and we don't have to pay all the other fees and the dues that we got to do to be able to keep your price at a more respectable price and at what we would consider to be a more fair and honest price. That's why we do it that way. Are you okay with that now, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? Is that a good enough explanation for you? And for most people, it will be. For most people, it will be. We just have to make sure we explain. And again, the word track just has to be clean. That's all. Does that sound, I mean, again, does that sound good to you guys? Does that sound fair to you guys? Does that sound right? Does that sound weird?
That made sense, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
So just to add
Okay.
on what you said, renewal here in Salt Lake, they tell all their people the same thing, but 90% of their installers are 1099. So it's exactly the same thing they're doing.
Right. Because I can tell you now, right now, everybody, for the most part, there are approximately 111 Renewal by Andersen stores across the US. And more than 100 of those, 96 of those are all franchise owned. And almost every single one of them subcontract the same way. Pella,
Absolutely.
same exact way. Dream Style Remodeling, same exact way. And the reason why these companies do it that way, 100% is to try to keep the costs down. Because the challenges that you have with construction workers is there is a tremendous amount of workman's comp, tremendous amount. And as workman comp and everything goes up and everybody's on the, and because of that, everybody's in the company that has insurance, their premiums are constantly going up, which means the company's premium on their half is going up. Somebody has to pay for that. In the end, it's always the customer, always. So we do these things to keep our costs down. But almost everybody does it that way now because of the rising costs of everything. Okay. So when we sit there and we say that, we are in the same exact boat that almost everybody is. For sure. You know, it's when we start getting into step 5 and we start comparing ourselves to Renewal by Andersen, most, not all, but most Renewal by Andersen installers across the US, they drywall the drywall install. That is what they do for the most part, which is such a horrible and shitty way to install. So we're going to start attacking that next week when we start getting into step 5 and we start talking about our installation and our product versus everybody else's. Okay. So any questions about what we've gone through already, steps 1 through 4 at all? Because this is it right here.
Yeah, I got one. Just going back to affordability on the CPA, if you did have kind of that low rent contractor type vibe, or just in general, someone flipping a house, that's just looking for ROI or something like that, they are saying that they just want the cheapest thing available. How do you navigate that response?
Well, so in this case here, you know, you're going to hear me say a lot that price doesn't matter, but we all know I'm full of shit because about 10 to 15% of the time it does matter. But here's the thing, though. This is one of like what David and others like to call Terryism, right? I believe that 15% of what happens in the world is the exception to the rule. We cannot let what happens 15% of the time to dictate the other 85. Not only is that stupid, but that's just plain goofy to do that. So what you just brought up is the exception to the rule. So the only thing I would be able to tell you, brother, is to try to answer that the best way you can and go back into trying to the advantages of it. Look, sir, you can put a cheesier product in. I would want to dig in first. How long do you plan on being there? The longer they're there, the better. If it's just a house flipper, we're not for them. We're not the company for them. We're just not. We're not the company for them. And that's one of those ones you have to wave the little white flag and get out of Dodge. That's just not for us. You know, It's like the rep. I heard this from a rep the other day. That, well, you know, this sucks. Our prices are expensive. I lost another deal to Window World. No, you didn't lose a World to Window World. That's not our kind of customer. That's just not ours. We are not for every customer, and not every customer is our kind of customer. They're just not. So when you run across something like that, do the best you can to navigate through it. But in the end, you know, I usually start out by digging in as to how long they plan on being there, see if I can build value if they're going to be there for any length of time, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be. But if it's, look, I'm just a home flipper, I tell my man quick, you know what, sir, look, as a home flipper boss, we may not sit there and be the company for you. What you're looking for is you need like Window World out here. You need like Lowe's or Home Depot, or you need Chuck in the truck. We're not that kind of company, so we don't put out that type of product. Typically, the question you're going to get when you say that, it's always the same thing. Well, why not? What about for people like me? Well, here's the problem, sir, is this. You say you're going to flip the house, you're just going to put the windows in and get out of Dodge, but it never works out that way for most people. So you end up staying in a house an extra 6, 7, or 8 months, whatever it may be. Then the product starts to sit there and have challenges with it because it is a cheesy product, and we knew it was. And we tried to tell you that because you didn't listen, though. Then you want to blame us that we put out a bad product and we start getting bad reviews because you didn't listen. Truth be told, that's the reason why we don't do it. That's why. And then get out of Dodge. It's just not our person. It's okay. It's okay to admit defeat there and walk away. It's okay. You know, sometimes the best deal that we make is the job we don't sell. Sometimes it is. But with flippers or somebody wanting to do that, I dig in first to find out how long they plan on being there. And at the same time, let's find out if they're full of shit or not. So how do we do that? Well, you know, we're going to be leaving here probably within a year. Well, the operative word is probably. Probably is not for sure. Really, you're going to be leaving. Well, if you don't mind me asking, sir, where are you moving to? Well, we're going to be moving to North Dakota. North Dakota? How long have y'all lived here anyway? Well, we lived here for 3 years. Do you typically like sit there and buy a house and stay in it 3 years and then bounce out and go somewhere else? Is that normal for you? You know, I'm getting ready to sell my house and my wife and I want to sit there and move somewhere else. You know, who would you be using as a mortgage company? Let's find out if they can answer some of these questions. If it's, well, I don't know yet, we haven't looked into it, chances are they're just full of shit. And all they're trying to do now is see if they can get the cheapest price out of you. So if I'm hearing answers that way, I'm going to keep pitching and do my job. I'm going to keep pitching and do my job at that point. Okay. But if they can give me specifics, you know, yeah, my daughter is going to sit there and graduate in 2 years. We're moving to California. Really, we're taking you to California. We want to be closer to the rest of the family. This house is just too big for us. Boy, let me ask you, where I'm getting ready to sell a house to, what mortgage company, who are you using? You know, who are you going to, well, we're going to use ABC Mortgage Company. You know, they treated us pretty good the last time. That's pretty finite answers right there. I'd probably sit there and admit defeat at that point and say, you know what, folks, let me just be honest with you. Chances are we're not the company for you. Okay. If I may make a suggestion, because we did promise that we would help, I would call Window World. You're going to pay about $600 to $700 a unit. If you want anything cheaper than that, you're either going to need Chuck in the truck, do it yourself, or go down the Lowe's or Home Depot and put in, you know, some contractor grade type window. But that's what I would tell you. Now, maybe they'll tell you, well, I don't really want that. Really? Okay. Well, check this out. Here's what I'm going to do for you while I'm here. And then I go through my demonstration now. But since we're asking up front, how long you plan on being here, then we know that that answer, chances are, is going to come out right there in the warm-up. Does that make sense? I mean, is that an acceptable answer for everybody here?
You know, a lot of times in houses, especially these days, because I'd always ask people how long they plan to live there as well, in the pitches I've done. Very common that people are like, I don't know, could be a year, could be 10 years, just depends if I, you know, get sick of this, if the crime rate keeps increasing, whatever. So what do you say if they won't give you anything, a definitive answer, and it's like 1 to 10 years?
Well, first off, if we ask the question, how long have you lived here? A lot of times that's going to tell us, right? Somebody say they've lived here 10, 12, 15 years. They don't want to say, well, you know, I'm not 100% sure. They're not going nowhere, man. They're not going anywhere. You know, well, the crime rate's going up. Well, the crime rate's going up everywhere. Everywhere. The crime rate's going everywhere. Unless they plan on jumping on some kind of a ship and going to the moon where they have zero crime rate there. No matter where you live, the crime rate's gotten worse, whether it's Beverly Hills, South Tucson, or whatever it may be. Okay. So what you're getting here now, chances are, is a customer who's trying not to answer questions because they think if they do that they're going to sit there and give up shit. So I would ask a few more. If they continue to be undecisive that way, or they tend to be defensive that way, address it immediately, jump on it right away. Sit there and tell them, you know what, sir, let's stop here for a second, Mr. Blaylock. Look, sir, in order for me to go ahead and help you, we're going to have some audience participation here for a little bit. And right now we're not. And the reason why is I'm getting a feeling, sir, are you getting the impression that I'm trying to sell you something right now, sir? Is that what the impression that you're trying to get? Is that what's going on here? Address it right now. Get after it right now. Well, I know how this works. Okay, well, and I get it, sir. But again, the question on the table is, seriously, sir, I mean, for realsies here, are you getting the impression I'm trying to sit there and sell you something? Well, yeah. Okay, let's get that out of the way then, sir. Are you a man of your word? Can you keep a promise? And then jump on that. Yeah, I can. Good. Tell you what, if you can keep your promise, I'll keep mine. I promise not to sell you anything if you promise not to buy anything at all. Can you keep your promise? Yes, I can. Great. Just know this. At some point in time when we're done here, I'm going to politely ask you for your business, sir. All you got to do is keep your promise and politely sit there and say no. And then from there, we'll shake hands and part to be buddies. Can we agree on that? Yes. Great. Now that we got that out of the way, let me ask the question again. How long do you plan on living here, boss? Tell me what's going on. Okay. You know, well, I don't understand. Why is that important? Well, here's why it's important, sir. Here's why. The reason why this is important is because if you're really going to be moving right away, sir, really, then the question on the table is, why is me or anybody coming out here to talk to you about Windows, sir? What is it we're hoping to do? Because I have to assume you have better things to do with your time than look at your wife and go, what should we do today? I don't know. I get it. We should have the window man come out. Nobody does that. So the question on the table is, why am I here? Why would any of us be here? So if that's the way it's going to be, sir, then maybe that customer is not for us. You know, maybe they're not. So address it. What are they going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I am the regional vice president of this damn region. What am I going to do? Put you in window jail? Is that what I'm going to do? Put you in window jail. You know, Jimmy, that's what you did. Go to window jail. I don't even know where window jail is, to be honest.
Do not ask go. Do not collect $200.
You know, I mean, so you get a customer that's being that way and they're so defensive, especially. Let it go for a second, ask a few more questions, see if they're going to continue to be that way. And if they are, stop it right there. Stop it. Stop it and address it and see what happens. Because here's the thing. Customers that are like that, they're like ticks. You let that tick dig in, and it is really hard to get them out. It's really hard to get that tick out once that tick digs in. You cannot let them dig in that way and it continue to go that way, because the longer it goes, the harder it's going to be to sit there and get them to help out here. So you got to get them off that bullshit right away. You got to get them off it right away. Right away. You see it, ask another question, 2 or 3, and they continue to be evasive like that, jump on it right away. The worst that can happen is they tell you to get the hell out. That's the worst that can happen. That's the worst. Okay, well, I guess you'll be all broke up about that, wouldn't you? You know, boy, howdy. We just got geeked out of a person that we've never met before in a day in our life. I'm going to really worry about that now. Don't worry about it. But you have to address it. Because again, the longer it goes that way, you're going to have a very hard time controlling the environment. A very hard time. So you might as well get after it right away. But that's what I would do though, Cody. If they're a little evasive, ask maybe 3, 4 more questions. And I'd probably ask these questions over the course of about 7 to 10 minutes-ish at the most. And if it stays that way, jump on it. Jump on it right away and back them off. Right? All right, look, folks, stop. Hold on. Let's just do this for a second. In order for me to help you, I have to get audience participation. And I'm not getting that right now. So I believe, and I'm not sure, but I got to ask this question. Folks, are you getting the impression I'm trying to sell you something right now? Is that, I mean, is that the impression we're getting here? Well, no, not really. Okay, then I have to ask, why so evasive, sir? I can't help if you don't sit there and tell me things. You got to let me know. You just can't go to a doctor and say, I don't feel good. What's wrong? What hurts? You know, what are you allergic to? You know? So basically what you're trying to tell me, sir, is not a damn thing wrong with you. Look, you're wasting my time. Get the hell out of here. Okay. There has to be audience participation. They have to. And if they're going to be evasive, jump on that. Jump on them. It's not going to happen enough for you to have to sweat. Not only that, it's fun. I like doing it, personally. I think it's fun as hell. I like doing it. You know, I like the whole look on everybody's face when I ask them, can they keep a promise? You know, keep a promise. Yeah, I promise not to sell you anything, promise not to buy it. I like just the look on their face when I do that, because it's always the same look. Yeah, I could keep a promise. Sure, I can keep that. Are you sure, sir? Can you really keep a promise? You know, the other thing, guys and gals, throw this into, okay, throw this into, okay, here's something to throw in when you guys are pitching also, okay, is when you ask, you don't do it every single time, but do a little bit of it. So when you sit there and, for example, maybe you ask the closing question of, you know, can you see where the windows are costing you money on a daily basis? And they say, yes, yeah, I could see that. Follow up with, are you being for realsies? Or are you just saying that because the window man is standing here? Do you really mean that? No, I really do. For reals. All right. And get a knuckle bump out of that. Okay. Is this the kind of company you would entrust your home to? I'm being serious, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Is this the company you would entrust? You know, could you entrust? Yeah, I could do that. For realsies, sir, are you just saying that because the window man is standing here? Are you being for reals? Are you? No, for all right. You know, because here's why. You do that 2 or 3 times. When you start to do this, they'll automatically answer a question. They'll start to do this with you. Because in the end, when I ask for their business and I start to do one of these, as their hand comes out, then I'm going to give a handshake, because you will train them to get their hand out there. And they'll do it too. You'll freak out. They'll do it all on their own, like a trained puppy. Like a trained puppy, that's what they'll do. So when you hit them with some stuff, say that, you know. And hey, look, we don't have to be all or HR here, okay? You know, have fun out there, guys. Have fun. When I'm in a house, I have fun. I am there to have a good time. I am there to put them in debt, and I am there to sit there and make a bunch of money. That's what I'm there for. That is my goal, is to put them in debt, sell them some windows, and make some dough. Okay? So I go out there and I have fun. And again, most of you haven't seen me in a house yet. David can certainly tell you, but shadow a little bit. It is not beyond me to sit there and say things like, come on, for realsies, are you being that way? And they'll look at me a little funny at times, and I'll tell them, what? You do know for realsies is a real word. You know that, right? No, I don't think it has to be, sir. I just invented it. So I know it's a real word because I just invented it. So for realsies are good. I say shit like that. I'll sit there and I say, the window man. You're not just being that way because the window man is here. Do you really mean that? For reals? You being for reals? All right. You know, can't argue with a confident man, that's for sure. You know, guys, have fun, because making money is fun. It is. Making money is fun. If you don't believe me, ask the guy that's broke. The guy that's broke will tell you he's not having a whole lot of fun. You know, this isn't like playing things where somebody sits there and tells you, you know, it's not a matter of whether you win or lose. It's a matter of, you know, if you know, it's not a matter of whether you win or lose. It's how you play the game. Look, piss on that. Losing sucks. Losing sucks. I don't care what nobody says. Losing sucks. And the reason, and it always counts anytime you're keeping score. If you're keeping score, it counts. Because if it didn't count, nobody would keep score. Okay? We're out there keeping score when you guys are running around out there. Your time is worth something, for Christ's sake. It really is. I believe that shit. I believe that. and you're worth more, then damn it, go out and get it. Just don't pull out a ski mask and a pistol to do it. That's all. You know, just don't do that. You know, you look at Miss Nicole over there to the far left. She's pretty close to ski mask with her. All she needs is a pistol now, Miss Nicole. All you need is the pistole because you're getting close. With you, all I see is this is Nicole. This is all I see with Nicole. She has glasses and hair. Glasses and hair. You know, she's got her jacket on her legs. Jesus Christ, Cody, how cold is it in your room, dude?
We're trying to keep it in like Ontario's in here, so I set it to 63 and locked the pad.
Well, I know it's not that cold because if it was that cold, I can see Double J here. His head would be blue if it was that cold.
It's like 71 in here.
Oh my God, 71. That's heat. I'll have heat stroke. Holy shit, 71. I'll have heat stroke. Piss on that. So anyway, so go out there and have fun, guys. But when you're doing these things, again, get some micro closes in there. Just because you ask a closing question and get your answer, then follow up with a little with that. You know, are you being serious? You know, Mr. Candelaria, are you being serious? Are you just saying that because the window man is here? Are you being for reals? You are? All right. Just checking. I just want to make sure. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Get that in there. And like I said, have a little fun with that. You know, I don't expect everybody to do everything that I do or say, but and I know Shadow will tell you this. Look, I'll curse my ass off in the house. Don't think I won't. I'm a cursing unit in the house. Up a storm. Now, I don't motherfuck everything, but I draw an F-bomb or two out there too, though. Don't think I don't. But I test the waters to do it. After I've been there for a minute, I'll say, oh, well, you know what? Let me see. Now, that's bullshit. Sorry about that, folks. That's not an accident. I do that to see what I can get away with. And Shadow watched me do that.
Yeah, it's real fun.
Shadow watched me do that when I sat there and said, oh, that's bullshit. When I did one of those, that wasn't a Freudian slip. I'm trying to see what I can get away with. So when I said that, like, oh, no, don't you worry about shit. We fucking cuss all the time. Absolutely. And I was on that ass then. Because I am certainly in my element. I was on that ass after that. So go out there and have fun, guys. Have fun, ladies. Have fun. You know, get out there and be the next Kate Gralton, you know, and make 55 and 60 grand in a month. That's fun. I assure you it is. It only sucks if you're used to making 75. So other than that, if anybody doesn't have any questions for me, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let you guys get out of here. MSPs, I need you to start working with, well, you know what? I'll entertain you for a few more minutes until Miss Kate gets back so she can hear this. Apparently she's going to the potty room because if she's going in that direction, I know where she's going. So tomorrow, though, here's what we're going to do tomorrow. You guys are going to be in for a very short time tomorrow. If you'll notice on the schedule, Cody, I think I got everybody coming in an hour later, correct?
Yep, let's all set up another Zoom link and send that out to everybody starting at 8:30 Pacific time.
So keep in mind on the schedule that I sent you, you're not coming in as early as we have been. It's going to start an hour later. And I can assure you, we are not going to be here until noon. I can promise you that we're going to go over some things, answer some questions, get you a little prepared for stuff and go over stuff because you have your first test on Monday. So Monday's test, it is not a pass or fail test type of thing. It is to gauge how well you're doing and how much you're studying. However, if you do fail, expect that you're going to get ribbed a little bit and some shit's going to be talked to you and we're going to have a little fun at your expense just a little bit. But as we go on, though, these tests will start to get more serious because in the end, when we take our final test for sure, if we can't pass that test, I can't put you on the street. Okay? If you can't pass that test, I can't put you on the street. So this first test, For those that have test anxiety, chill there just a little bit. This is just a way to find out where we're at and what we're doing. We're going to take this test and we're going to swap out papers with everybody, and we're going to grade our own tests. Okay. So, or each other's tests. And this is a chance to sit there and, like I said, have a little fun with each other. It's all fun for right now, guys and gals. It's all fun. So let's just have a little fun with this and let's not have test anxiety. Kate, are you back?
I'm here.
Okay. 20 minutes. We've been waiting for you. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Apparently, there were some log cabins being built. I'm just saying. What I need my MSPs to do is let's work with everybody for a little bit and, kind of find out where everybody's head is at. I know Dallas and, you still got Mark out there and he's gone. So, Jimmy and Tall Matt, I got to stop calling you Tall Matt. Matt, you know what? Piss on that. The guy's like 7'3" and I'm 4 foot tall. So he is Tall Matt for sure. When I'm in Dallas, we'll take a picture of it, guys. You should see it because we're standing here and it's actually obscene because when he's standing beside me, like his junk is like right here.
It's like the end of the video.
So it's
Yeah, twice.
No, not quite. Cody's comes to here, but Matt's like 7'3" and shit, and it's ridiculous. His pants are taller than I am, my entire body. So anyway, let's go ahead and role play this out a little bit. Matt and Jim out there, and let's do a little bit out there in each of these other markets too. And tomorrow we'll get at it an hour early, and I promise I will have you guys out of here on the earlier side of things, because I don't want to have to sit there and talk to you all for 2.5 hours tomorrow, and you don't want to hear my dumbass doing it for another day. So let's give you guys a break on that, okay? Other than that, unless anybody has any questions, I really appreciate everybody's participation. Much better today than it was the last couple of days. Do appreciate you guys' courtesy and everything too, to allow me to stand here with you guys and do this. So I very much appreciate it. And I do mean that too. I actually really mean that. Except for Cody. He keeps calling me tiny, so he's the only one he's the only one I don't want to help.
I call spade a spade.
So
Just not tall enough.
You know what, dude? So I will say that before I leave out here. So just so you all know, it is okay to call Mark Pelletier a dick, just so you know. So when I was out there in Dallas, Mr. Pelletier, I'm sitting at the table and he sends me quit laughing. It wasn't that funny, fucker. He said, well, actually, it really was. Yeah, it was. He sends me this YouTube video. So I hit play on this video. I said, what the fuck are you sending me this shit? You're right in front of me. So I hit it. And it's a midget lady, a little midget lady. And she is singing, "You're just not tall enough. You're just not tall enough." And it's this whole rap song about this. I thought, oh my God, that is so messed up. So yeah, and needless to say, every time you hear him say you're not tall enough, that's what he's referring to as the YouTube video. I am pretty sure now after that comment, Mark will send it to everybody. I can see that already. So I'm just going to pray for your wife's better health and that God strikes you with crabs, just so you know. Please, God, give Mark Pelletier crabs. So
That would be bad. I've got a shellfish allergy.
Do what?
Shellfish allergy. That would be really bad.
Well, you know what though? If you do happen to get him, just run down to Walgreens and tell the doctor you need some crotch cricket killer and you'll be fine. Later, everybody. I'm out of here. Be good. Have a great weekend to you, or a great day, and we'll catch everybody tomorrow. Thanks, guys.